Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's the Plat Chat podcast crew back with another podcast episode. Hello. Guys, do you like the new intro that I was going for there? We got the whitest man in the United States of America to my left.
I can fix this. Hold on. I'm fixing. Oh, God.
There we go.
Now he's
okay.
the gamer gremlin.
I can be your devil or your angle.
Oh, I'm fixing it. Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus, saturation's going
God,
up.
what's going on?
Fuck. Oh, my spaghetti.
This dude.
Spaghetti's going everywhere.
This is why random
for Overwatch.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's
okay. You know what? While he does that, this is why we haven't posted the podcast episode.
LCQ.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're back. Hey guys, remember the LCQ?
Yeah,
we were there.
Yeah,
and now we're home. Anybody?
We watched some good games there. We watched some good games over there, I think. You know, we got to see Gen.G versus 100 Thieves. We got to see us versus Lighting. We got to see, you know, a lot of different things. We got to see Van Silly versus Bren versus COVID test. Like, there was a lot of different matchups at that one. A lot of different matchups.
Rapid tests. Yeah. That was that was pretty fun. That was a good time. Met everyone, saw all the, you know, met all the people that knew from online. You know, Esports Doug, Evil Cat, you know what I mean? All the people. It was a good time, even though the majority of the event didn't occur. But we did one of the good things that did happen from that was on the media days. Kurt, myself, and Josh were there for a few of the days before the actual event, or several days before the actual event, when the players were doing the media days, and we had the ability to force the players to do content with us, which was great. So we got a bunch of interviews and some other silly content pieces while we were there. Despite that, are you okay, Balla?
We're going on over there?
My cat just bit me, man.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Referred to for primal instincts.
Yeah, I guess
hunting for food and resources.
A Balla bite.
But yeah, that was so that was good. So we still got a bunch of content from the event, despite the event now being online on the 27th. So we did get some cool stuff with the players that we will be able to show. We have that to look forward to. Probably post a bunch of stuff on the Plat Chat Clips channel.
Still need to see those content pieces you guys have been fucking teasing me
listen,
specifically.
Just you wait until you see that baby bay little thing. It's just a good, insightful interview. That's all it is. It's a good, insightful interview with one of the minds of Valorant.
That shit is boring.
You guys want to see a little thumbnail?
No.
Yeah.
It's a real little thumbnail.
Okay,
Let's see it.
Make it really small.
Make it tiny.
Okay,
Okay,
go.
Wait, I can't even see that.
that's just like that's not even helpful.
Nice. That's a good
helpful.
little tease.
We should all list our favorite things.
Literally worse. Like
yeah, they really did. They really did. Let's all list our favorite moment from the now canceled LCQ.
I like that. That's a cute
Let's
idea.
Let's all sing Kumbaya too. Like
let's all listen. You know, let's ask the incandescent man over here to my right.
I'm not incandescent anymore.
Not anymore. Now let's ask the normally lit man, I guess.
True, he was.
What are you asking me?
What was your favorite moment from this LCQ?
From the one day of NA LCQ.
No, it could be the whole time. Like, it doesn't have to be related to the event itself. It could be like when we went out, you know, and talked to people. You know, it could be anything.
I tell you what, I enjoyed meeting all of the most of the NA Valorant talent. I say most of them, not because I didn't enjoy me. The wording of that was horrific. I meant because I didn't meet all of them. Is what I meant by that, but I worded it incorrectly, and now it just looks like I have beef with some of the Valorant talent. No, everyone I met at the NA LCQ was lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting all of them. I enjoyed the one day of. Do you know what the killer is actually about NA LCQ? About the one day of it is that the takeaway for the majority of people, it was we had so much shit fixed for day two, and day two was gonna fucking bang. It was gonna pop the fuck off like on our mainstream, and we didn't get the opportunity to show it off. That is annoying a little bit.
Yeah.
You gave us a worst and a best. You gave us two.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I mean, that's fine. I think it's very valid.
Yeah.
Wyatt, what was your favorite moment, huh?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get like one just like wow.
My favorite moment was
okay, you can
the
go.
fucking scuffness of the first segment that we did.
Yeah. I mean that
was so fucking funny.
Yeah. That Josh segment was something else.
I mean, we were quite lucky that it got passed off as comedy.
Yeah.
Well, some people thought it was comedy.
It wasn't.
Some other people thought it was really bad, but it was not comedy.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't intentional comedy, but it was still comedy. Comedy through and through is my analysis of that moment. Yeah, that is a good best moment. I'm trying to. I don't know. I mean, it was just at the end of the day, it was just cool hanging out with everyone.
It was such a good time. You know?
I have my moment. I got my moment.
Okay,
100%.
you got your moment. Okay,
when we went to a salsa bar it was Bren, Wyatt,
yeah,
us.
that was.
I went to a salsa bar with Golden Boy and Esports Douglas.
Salsa dancing
and then
with Esports
Josh
Doug
got
was
his
pretty fun.
tarot read because there was a tarot reader in the back of the bar, and I was really drunk and I paid for the tarot reading because I was like, I've just deserved so much. I've just gotten so much entertainment here. I need to pay for it. So I just like paid for Josh's tarot reading, and then we entrapped Golden Boy when Josh set up told the tarot guy to like pre-select these cards. So when Golden Boy went to go get his cards read, he like pre-selected all these ones, and then Golden Boy was fucking shook when like the cards came out and he started talking to him. Like that was my favorite. It was literally completely unrelated to anything at the event itself because there was so little event, but that was like my favorite moment while we were there. You know?
Yeah, that was a fun time. That was a fun time dancing the night away.
Wish
with
I was
Esports
there.
Douglas. Yeah.
Such sadness.
all
Instead, I watched Squid Game with Van Silly.
snuggled up. Vance is listen. I would cuddle up and watch Squid Game with Van Silly. He's a cuddly man. He's big. He's got some warmth to him.
6 with them, and they're just sitting there. It's Vans and Prius, and on both sides. Prius is on the bed with me, and they're just both crying. And I'm like, this episode sucks.
Yeah, this guy's everybody's a critic, you know what I mean?
Damn, you're cold-hearted, dude. You're cold-hearted. This
Unbelievable.
guy's stone cold.
I mean, do we want to talk about the LCQ so far, or well, actually, I suppose before that, do we want to talk about what our experience was like? Because people, all the talk of the town has been about it being postponed, and we're on the inside. We were there. We saw what was happening. Yeah. So we should probably talk a little bit about our experience in regards to what was going on for us, or that we could see from our point of view, in regard to the postponing of the event and all that.
Yeah. Well, not just like what we experienced, but also just like our thoughts in general about what happened, right? And what that means. Well, I guess what that means going forward, we can talk about after, because some results have been posted. But yeah, just generally, it kind of sucks, right? Because it was kind of some issues are like kind of in control, and then some issues are completely out of control after a certain period has elapsed, right? Which is the whole COVID testing scenario. One thing that pisses me off in general is that people actually think that people got COVID, which is not the case.
Yeah, no one got COVID.
At least, like, I don't know if anything has progressed after the point, but at the beginning, none of the FaZe players had COVID. It was like confirmed false positives, like confirmed with like multiple PCR tests and stuff like that. Same thing with Shanks. So nobody actually got COVID. It was just really hard to deal with the testing situation that was not ideal, and then also the LA County rules, which completely out of anybody's control.
That
honestly.
was the critical issue, was the LA County ruling that some of the players who had false positives, and that, like you said, being based on, they did the rapid test, it came back positive, then they did the full PCR test and it came back negative. But at that point, it didn't even matter, because LA County demanded that those people stay isolated, which then raises a bunch of competitive integrity issues, where some players will be playing from either the hotel with the hotel PCs, some people would be at the studio. Some people, the FaZe guys, because they lived in Los Angeles, or like it was a consideration that they would just go back to their homes and play from their apartments because they didn't actually have a setup there with hotel PCs, and so it raised
they had to go home in
issues.
Quarantine.
Yeah,
is the issue, and then they were going to be playing on their home setups, and then teams raised issues of competitive integrity with that.
Yeah,
just to get the details out. And yeah, LA County requires you, even after a false positive, doesn't matter how many PCR tests you take afterwards that come up negative, LA County requires you to quarantine for 10 days and self-isolate. So they with the amount of the amount of false positives that were being had, I don't know. I feel like there were solutions in the middle of the event, but it would have ended up like you'd have potentially had like half the players playing from hotels or playing from their homes at a certain point in the event, because you have to get regular testing, and it seems like the testing vendor was not particularly good. My COVID test that I got on the first day, they just left in the sun. So I was like getting my COVID test for 2 hours. They would call me up and they're like, oh, it's inconclusive. I come back and there's like 15 of us queuing up to get COVID tested again because they just left all of our tests in the sun. It's like, I think the vendor was like pretty bad as well. Riot kind of got owned, but also, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they should have done a bit more research into like the COVID vendor.
Well,
COVID
that's why I
vendor.
said like some of the situations, yes, after a certain point, it was out of people's control, but like they shot themselves in the foot by number one, selecting that whatever vendor. Maybe there's issues there. We don't really have the full scoop except our own experiences. When
I can only talk on my own anecdotes.
Right, but the second thing is we're not using good PCs. Like in the practice situation or on stage, they're just not optimized for Valorant. And there's a very specific set of specs that you need to play Valorant at a high level that all the pro players are having it at home. And the fact that the game dev themselves are not able to provide those specs is very, very awkward, because it creates a situation like this. Their backup plan was honestly pretty good until you realize that the PCs were not good in both situations. And then FaZe will end up having this situation where they can play on their god PCs with Ryzen's, which is what you need to play Valorant to get 800 or like 300 FPS plus consistently. And if you don't have Ryzen's, if you have like the highest tier Intel stuff is bad at playing Valorant. So yeah, they shot themselves in the foot there, and that caused their backup plan to fail. If that wasn't the case, it probably would have been okay. FaZe could have played at home. The practice PCs at the hotel would have been good enough. Although the internet situation is another consideration, but I think people probably could have gotten over that in general.
But they were fixing the internet issue.
Exactly.
They were fixing it. They had engineers on day one, which is part of the argument for them. A lot of people were saying, why would they run the event in LA? But you have to understand the logistics of running like a LAN event. Even if it wasn't a LAN event, it was all done online. But even still, logistically, like if there were any issues that came up, like the internet on day one, they can get their engineers very easily. It's like literally in their back garden. You know, you can just, wherever they're living in LA, send them over to fix a lot of the issues. It becomes much more cost effective, I guess, in a way. Or like, maybe not cost effective, but there's less weird barriers, you know, like trying to ship people out to a different state to try and get shit fixed.
I mean, I feel like in general it's pretty common at these big events for them to have. I think the issue is that it's separated with all the different regions, so they can't send engineers to all, the places they're having LANs or online tournaments and whatnot. Because, for example, at Berlin, they had like everybody's there pretty much, right? Yeah. And that's a different thing too, is that I guess people are having different experiences compared to like Berlin or Reykjavik with testing and PCs and whatnot, compared to here at LCQ. Because in Berlin, we didn't have any false like we had, I think, one false positive. And it was like a staff member, and that was it. We were testing every single day. Yeah. Like, so that's why it's just like, what the hell happened here, in terms of the vendor. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems, I think probably the one issue that seems the most fixable is what you brought up, all just the PCs. That's probably that would be a good change, a good step in the right direction,
Yep.
But yeah, Any other thoughts, Connor, before we want to talk about the tournament so far?
I think overall it's been pretty encapsulated. Like most of this stuff some of it was things that could have been controlled earlier. Some of it was just really poor luck that, maybe the vendor wasn't the best, though obviously we don't know. The initial internet setup wasn't great. Really, by far the biggest, what you can look at, the two most in control problems that probably should have been resolved a little bit earlier was the travel team with the OCE squads, coming there. Like that was something that was just lack of experience with getting OCE teams in North America. And that's just because they could have done it. It's just the time frame they started to do it in apparently was not fast enough. And then the PCs. So I think other than that, though, I think there's a lot of people that have been like, wow, Valorant, everyone was heaping praise on Valorant for running all these LANs during COVID when, like, with Iceland and then Berlin, right? And then coming into LCQ when a lot of other places were not doing them as often, but then are now, like, shocked to find out that, like, a LAN event fell apart during COVID as well because of mostly COVID-related issues, generally.
It snowballed off the back of it, COVID.
Yeah,
issues.
and running the LAN event is hard in COVID right now. Like, I feel like a lot of these, I think Josh, he's not here to say this right now, but Josh was saying, like, a lot of these issues that happen at LCQ are stuff that event organizers and TOs, they make these the mistakes all the time anyways. Pre-COVID, it's just because of COVID this time, it spiraled out of control. Because of like all sorts of different regulations and just like logistical issues.
And because it ended on day one, those issues are more remembered, where like some of that stuff like the internet and all that was some of the production related things that was going to that was already being solved and would have been much better on day two. So it's just unfortunate that it just ended there, because then it just you remember the tournament as a one-day thing, and it's like, wow, the tournament had lag issues. There was also it was the one day, and then it was being fixed. So unlucky,
there's another
just unfortunate
misconception that like LAN tournaments never have any network problems. Like that's just not the case, and I think people were like pointing to the fact that it's online as the culprit, but in general, like when you have that many people in a certain area, networking just becomes a lot more difficult. It's obviously we haven't seen many LANs with network problems in the recent future, but that's because I think all the games that are running right now are all like experienced at doing that sort of thing. So setting it up, I just don't think that pointing to the idea of them running it online is the main way to go, right? Yes, that could have been a possibility, but you until you understand, until you actually see the technical reasoning behind the issues of lag, then you shouldn't point at a certain area and be like, well, it's this decision that caused the problems. It should be more nuanced than that, and I don't think we got that either with anything that Wyatt said online, because it was all mostly COVID focused.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's talk about the tournament so far then. We've had the top of the bracket has been played out. Some good games with 100 Thieves, Xset, Gen.G, LG. Some interesting stuff has happened so far. 100 Thieves have made their way into the upper final. Everything on paper has kind of gone... Well, 100 Thieves Xset, I suppose, is a bit more coin flippy, or a lot of people would have preded Xset, a lot of people preded 100 Thieves, but on paper, pretty reasonable results. But how we got here was not it was not the straight and narrow path. There were a lot of worrying moments for both 100 Thieves and Xset in their first matchups.
100 Thieves impressed me though, because I was one of the lowest people on them, like out of all of us. I was not high up on 100 Thieves at all. I don't have faith in teams when they make pretty radical switch-ups, like the getting rid of Steel and putting Boy in, and Boy hasn't played an official match in months up until that point. I don't have faith in that to work out as well as they think in a high-pressure scenario like NA LCQ. They made it work, and I will say, Boy kind of shaped up a little bit as the two matches led on. I think a little bit early on he was kind of struggling to a degree. I know people walked away with the opinion that he was actually kind of doing well or popping off, but I still don't think that was the case. I think he was just playing this role. But he played well. And also, my second takeaway is, I don't mean to swap the subject to the other team, but Xset kind of getting boned a little bit, because they're the one team that I don't think they have that much LAN experience. Maybe one of them does. Maybe Arten, I think, with Crossfire, right?
And Def.
Arten and Def.
And Def. Yeah. But they were definitely feeling the nerves in this in the earlier match, against Luminosity, and then you saw over the course of the 100 Thieves match, and they decided to get back into it. They ended up going down to the lower bracket. It's kind of unfortunate they had to play on the stage and get the additional pressure that comes with that in their match. What can be done? I mean, I'm not going to advocate for resetting the bracket, because I just don't think that's fair for any of the other teams, considering the prep that they've already put into it. You have to play out the tournament. But it's unfortunate scenarios for them that they now have to run it through the lower bracket.
Yeah. Well, I think that'd be a better argument if they had lost to LG.
Sure.
Because
yeah. I had never had faith in LG either. They were like my lowest team coming in. Yeah, but I think that was
the thing, right? Because XSET was just consistently beating LG pretty easily or whatnot, and then they have a tough game against them. If they had actually lost, and I'd been like, oh shit, like they got screwed. But in this situation, like this is how I expected the bracket to go out. Maybe they could have beaten 100 Thieves, but that game was close no matter what. I think more so like they got screwed because they were tired. Like by the end of that game,
dude,
some of those plays they were just not in it. They were just not fully in it, which hurt to watch because it was really close.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, yeah, they got rolled on Haven, and I felt like XSET were really playing a by the books Haven attack that LG were just ruining with flank pushes, little cheeky aggressive plays. I think XSET were just so formulaic on their attack, and LG were just aware of their timings. Tig was just constantly finding moments up in an A and sewer where he was getting picks. And also LG, I mean, we're going to talk about this in the next topic. It's kind of hard to avoid, though, even now, which is just going to be the difference between online and playing at LAN. Because LG, I feel like there's going to be this, it's hard to not have this narrative now that maybe LG were having some kind of LAN buff, because you saw their coach was going fucking nuts on the stage. He was doing cartwheels and shit. He was jumping around, slamming PCs on the ground. I mean, he was popping off. And he was keeping the players were super hyped as well. I mean, it was, you could feel the energy. That was from the pistol round. I mean, just on the pistol was the first time that you heard some actual, like some noise coming from the stage. Like we had already just watched all of the 100 Thieves Gen.G game, and there were a couple like, good round, like a couple like Hiko's fist bumping someone, whatever. But then the second they won that pistol, it was just, let's fucking go! It was just immediately they were screaming, and they were just going off from round one, and you could see how much of a difference that made mentally in this game. XSET were really slow to start up. It definitely looked like they had the LAN nerves.
In this clip here, sorry to interrupt. I didn't mean to interrupt. But it's like exactly what I was thinking of Haven, where Tig gets away with, like the end scoreline, the NKD of Tig is 22 kills, 5 deaths. And a huge part of it was just Dre just getting the passive value out of the op. They had to use all the util to clear and find the positioning, and Tig gets in these ratty angles just constantly. Yeah. The entire game, Tig was just getting these ratty value angles, basically playing like a mini Nats throughout this entire map. And then it's compounded by the fact that XSET, I think, were playing with nerves. Like you said, Wyatt, they were playing it's so structured. It was just a very formulaic game of Haven.
You could even see in that round there. I kept saying it on the stream when we were watching, but the way XSET play the map, they always, when they're done working the map, they always make a more aggressive play at like 55 seconds. And that clip was like they started hitting C through a garage split with like the same timing at around 55 seconds that they used every single round when they started taking a forward position. And the push just gets rolled. I mean, it just kept happening throughout the early game over and over and over. And then later in the half, they just started trying to rush sites to win rounds. But after this map, they picked it up, and the composure came in. They won the next 2 maps in solid fashion. Zekken was playing great. I mean, whatever discussion there's always going to be there when it's like, oh, it's the first LAN and he's 7 years old and like whatever the fuck. But he was fine. I mean, he was better than fine. He was really good. So yeah, I mean, XSET were still they were still looking good. They just lost a narrow game to 100 Thieves. Maybe some of that coming down to exhaustion, whatever. But yeah, I mean, do you have any thoughts on this side of the the exit run, Connor?
I mean, overall, Brennon and I, we were on the exit train pretty heavily coming into this event. We were, along with the Zoomer casters, you know, Upmine, Mimi, we were all just like, yeah, exit looking pretty solid. And when they played that first map versus LG, I was like, uh-oh. I was like, oh no. Because they did seem like they'd gotten red a bit. But then as it went on further into the series and you felt them get a little bit more comfortable, I think it was also just like that particular way that they play Haven, where, you know, they do it on a lot of maps, but on particularly the way they play Haven, where they work around, they idle around in grass a lot in mid, and then go back to rework. LG plays really well versus that because they're just playing so contact heavy and just taking like really ratty angles all the time, and then Tig's able to go for a flank. And I think it was just more of a really poor matchup on Haven, and the rest of the series, like, yeah, it was still close, but XZ was definitely performing a lot better. And it didn't help LG either that the Dre Jett on Split was not hidden. Was not hidden. It was, in fact, missing.
The Jett in general, over the course of their match, it wasn't hitting that much. Like I said, he was getting the most value from the passive up angles. He was locking up areas of the map, and it gave information for the rest of his team to play off of. But in general, he wasn't popping off.
Yeah, I mean, he had an okay performance, though, on, like, Ascent. His performance was, like, fine. You know, like, it wasn't, like, amazing by any means, but it was still fine. Like, Split was pretty rough, and it was definitely, like, I think it was just, like, a bad individual performance for Dre, and also LG did not really know how they wanted to play around Dre's Jett on Split. So it was just, like, a combination of two different factors for them. So it was, though, honestly, a better performance from LG than I expected. Balla was the only one going in like, oh, you guys are underrating LG. We're underrating LG. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't feel like I've been impressed by LG recently, but they definitely came out and looked relatively strong. So it gives me some hope for like maybe this roster, if they make some changes or just continue to gel better, maybe they could like return to that period of time where LG, they do have time, where LG was like really good for like a period of time.
Yeah, see, when you're talking about the thing though with the Dre holding the op angles, Bren, well, you're right. It's just the question is that the best usage of Dre? No. And it's not that players should never do something new or try a different agent or try and play a different play style. You know, you can't be the same exact player forever. But Dre was one of the statistical best performing players online, and that was because of his rifling a lot, for the most part, on Reyna. And when I think of Dre, I'm thinking of him like on Ascent, on Cat, on defense on Reyna, just walking down Cat, and then he just bangs out 2 headshots, slips away. You know, like that's what I think of when I think of Dre, and that's what was making him one of the statistical best players in NA. Now, you know, you can't do the same thing forever, but like that was still working, I felt like. But I understand as well that LG, maybe they want to try and lean a bit more into the meta, playing the opping Jett, but it's tough. How do you balance that, right? How do you balance wanting to play something that maybe is a bit more on paper, on meta, versus just putting your star player in a comfortable position to pop off? I mean, I'm not mad at the Jett on the other 2 maps, but I really wish that he just played Reyna or Raze on Split. I just don't think, I don't really like solo duelist Jett on this map. I just don't think it's that great. And especially, though, that's where, as well, I think when you factor in who is the player, and then who is the player versus what are we gaining from making this pick? That's where at this point it's like, okay, I think who the player is, which is like a Reyna rifler on Split, that's a bit more important than just trying to play Jett because Jett op meta. So I was kind of unfortunate. I don't hate the Dre Jett on the other maps though, but yeah, I mean, I guess the question for LG is, are they going to perform better or worse online? Because this was one of the better games that we've seen from them in a while, it feels like. But is that because they were comfortable on LAN? Is that because of what their coach was able to bring on LAN? Are they going to just be kind of lackluster online? I mean, that's what I've been thinking of now when I'm just thinking about LG. Or does it not even? I mean, it sounds mean, but like, does it not even really matter? Is it going to change much for their end result.
Well, I mean, they play
not.
Gen.G next, right? When the LCQ resumes, and I feel like when you looked at both their previous performances, it could potentially be like a pretty close matchup between the two. Like, so I feel like it kind of depends on like how they show up versus.
Do they play Gen.G? I think they play Gen.G.
Gen.G. Yeah.
Do they really?
They play Gen.G. Yep.
They just play a team from the same bracket.
Yeah.
Well, it switches next time around.
Oh, right. Yeah, right? You're right. Yeah, you're right. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, I think overall,
sorry, guys,
when you see
eyes fuck. I'm just kidding.
Comedy hit from the pen.
Kidding, guys. Just kidding here. Overall, LG, there's like, it's kind of like if they show up again versus Gen.G, I feel like maybe they're just finding a groove right now. You know, like they're back. They've like some of the move, like getting their roster a bit more settled, feeling very confident where they're at right now. Maybe this is just like they're in a groove right now. If they perform against Gen.G, considering Gen.G played pretty well versus 100 Thieves, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but like if they kind of flop though, then maybe this was just like a land buff for them and just like an exit land debuff. So
that's what I was thinking. It was more exit land debuff, and that's just in talking to exit, talking to their coach and just the players in general, Def as well. Like they definitely were like they had the impression that it was going to be hard for them to get started because they had young players and whatnot, young and experienced players. They themselves were saying that. So I think that is more likely the case than LG having any sort of land buff, because we're basically just going off of the fact that their coach was yelling. Like, that's basically and obviously the performance too. But I think like if you actually look at it and you look at why, for example, why I thought that they were underrated going into this was because not only, well, it was Tig specifically before this that made me think that they were going to be able to play it in a different way and that was going to level them up. And Tig specifically was also just very, very, very good online as well. That was the case. And that's where I had that feeling, okay, going into this, it should look different. It should look like they maybe have a lot more strategical and tactical depth to their game. And that showed up on LAN. Now, my question is whether some of that was also influenced by the fact that Dre was playing Jett, right? Because now that is more conventional. You kind of have more opportunities for him to do very specific tasks. Whereas on Reyna, that's one of the reasons why we don't like Reyna that much, is the only way to get specific tasks done outside of defense holding off angles is with the 2 flashes. And that's generally why Reyna bad. But that's not all cases, right? So him playing Jett kind of opens more opportunities for them to do more stuff as a team, I guess. And that's why when you talk about the op off angle or the op holding and whatnot, it's good. Now, is it good? And like Wyatt's point, is Dre doing that role good? Because he's Dre, right? So I'm thinking right away, either Dre needs to like get better at that, which he could, but I don't see him going in that route. I don't think he's that type of player. Or can he go like the Scream route and play just much, much more aggressively with his Jett and not up pretty much at all, right? Is that a possibility for this team? But then again, that takes away from the whole idea and what that gives them in terms of benefits from playing a Jett op. Or I think they should go more the Sentinels route, where sometimes they're putting him on the Jett for places that they don't need that Jett op, but other times, for example, Split, they bring up somebody else who is more prone to the op. In some cases, I don't know who would be on this team. Maybe is Moose. I don't know why for some reason I'm thinking Moose, but that doesn't really seem to vibe with my thoughts about him in the past. Either way, I think that is a very viable way for them to go. So you keep unlocking Dre on Reyna in some instances, but you're still getting the value out of the strategic elements that Jett provides.
I agree. I mean, with the hindsight Henry analysis, if he plays anything other than Jett on Split, they win this match against against Exet.
I mean, it is hindsight Henry, but it's probably true. It feels like it is just a truth. Yeah,
Dre was just getting no value on the Jett on the Split. Like you look at his end score line. If you bring up the stats on Split, he was 6-22. 6-22.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if he
ADR.
I feel like if he plays Raze, that's just a win. But it is hindsight Henry as fuck.
If we look at the whole bracket as well, I just wanted to add a little bit on top as well. You guys have just gone in on it, but yeah, I'm expecting. Well, we're going to talk about the move to online, but looking at the future matches, I'm expecting Luminosity to match up pretty well against Gen.G. Actually, they're the one team that's going to benefit quite a bit from a bit of this break that we're having with the LCQ being postponed. In that they can look at that one match and be like, okay, this is where this wasn't working. This is where it was working. But I think the style that they had coming into it, especially on Haven, worked particularly well because XSET were playing so rigid in their play. There's out of all the teams that play in that kind of like that protocol set play manner where everything is by the book, Gen.G are that team for me. I think this matchup between them is going to lean more towards LG, especially off the back of them having more time to prep for that upcoming match.
Okay, guys, I want clout, fame, fortune, more Plat chat subscribers, more Twitter followers. Can we please talk about 100 Thieves? I really want to talk about 100 Thieves now.
Josh isn't here, so we can talk about 100 Thieves.
Yeah, Josh isn't here, so we can talk about how good 100 Thieves are.
Can we explain why Josh isn't here?
No. He has to walk back to Austin from LA. That's why he's not here. He's currently walking. He's somewhere in the Nevada deserts.
He's taking a break at Burning Man real quick, too.
Yeah, he's going to go burn the Zozobra in New Mexico.
100 Thieves, though, they've made it through to the upper bracket. 100 Thieves, the team with the LAN experience. 100 Thieves, the team with Asuna, Ethan, and Nitro, which is why I think they were going to win this event, especially on LAN. Online? I don't know. But on LAN, was feeling confident about 100 Thieves. They have the experience. I think they have three of... I mean, I think Asuna, Ethan, and Nitro are probably... I mean, I'm just going to throw some fucking numbers out there and just pretend that I've like, this is some kind of list that I thought of, but they have to be like three of the top 5 players at this event, surely, right? Or at least like 3 of the top 6 players of the event or something. I mean, like I just mean on paper going into the event, if you were to say who are the top 5 players of this event, Asuna, Ethan, and Nitro have to be in the top 5 players. They have like 3, they easily have one of the best rosters here. They have the experience. And in those games, the takeaway I had was, okay, if Boy just needs to be fine. He needs to just be okay. And if you have 2 of those 3 guys in their great form, they're going to be okay because they're just that good. And throughout the matches, you saw at different points. Asuna had the crazy game on Breeze against XSET. Ethan dropped like 29 on Split against Gen.G. They were back and forth with the pop-off games. Later against XSET, Nitro really came alive on the Jet. He started a little bit slow in the first series against Gen.G. But between those 3 players, they have enough skill that they can just win this tournament, I think, based on that. And they also, I think it's cool, the comps that they're running now. I like the switch up. I like the idea. I like when Asuna switched to Jet. I think that was a good idea, and I think it helped 100 Thieves a lot to have a Jet main duelist. And Asuna did have some really good games on Jet, but he was also starting behind the curve. All these other Jet mains have already been playing it for so long, and you could just tell that he was still playing catch up. Because his real star roles are the Raze and the Reyna. Those are always the duelists that he really goes off on the most. So they throw him back on those more comfortable duelist roles. You know you're going to get some great games out of him. And if Nitro continues to play Jet and just is a good, solid Jet, effective with the AWP, I like that. I like that on paper. I think that's a good idea. It makes sense to me. And then they just have, Boy slot in to fill some of the extra roles playing the controller because Nitro's not playing that anymore. And then, Ethan's still playing Sky. Eco's still playing Sova. I think all the roles make sense. That's a nice little hot fix to the not playing with Steel. And, it worked. It was working.
I'm a huge fan of this 100 Thieves, honestly, and what they've done with the roster. I was low on them. I didn't expect them to do particularly well when they're swapping up the roles, but Nitro playing the Jet was something. When you teased that, I think, Balla, you said you'd heard the rumors, right? On day one.
The streets have been talking.
Oh, that could backfire. But it didn't. And I think a large part of that is that now Asuna is not the sacrificial lamb of this team. Asuna's not the one who has to get the job done by going in first with the rest of the team, especially when they were playing a lot of the triple initiator comps. You saw this all the time. Their game plan with that was always send an Asuna into a smoke and just pump utility, including a knife, into one area and just trying to brute force it through. They used Asuna incorrectly, I think, up to a large portion of this up until now. And now that you've got Nitro, who's able to actually, in some cases, take the initiation, and Asuna also does sometimes, he was the one taking contact into areas as well. But across the board, now that you've got sometimes, in most scenarios when they're execing, Asuna is going to be the one who's coming in second, has information off of Nitro. Nitro's also just creating space, surviving in the smokes the entire time. It works out really nicely. And they put Boy in roles where they can teach him how to play it. They can teach him the formula. It's very similar, actually, to Nivera on Liquid, which we're going to talk about later. But they put him in a role where he's playing arguably complicated agents in the form of like the Viper and the Astra, but they've just basically drilled him in with the knowledge of where to play, some set plays, some setups for those agents, and they let him take it away from there. And the whole team is just coming together beautifully. I think 100 Thieves now, I was high up on Xset, but I mean, obviously after watching this and now they're in the upper finals, I don't think anybody can really make a case that they're not the favorites to take it away.
Yep. Yeah, I think that honestly was the day one narrative for me. Was literally, yes, they started off kind of weak against Gen.G. Xset started off kind of weak against LG, but as time progressed, and especially as you saw this game, they're still both the favorites. 100 Thieves probably over Xset for sure, but still both the favorites out of all the people who are at this tournament. Even though we haven't gotten to see the other two, it's just that these two teams are in good form. Specifically 100 Thieves, they're just like, oh boy, but in reality, like, it was still pretty damn good. That's a major takeaway for me. However, I actually thought it was like their opening game was like weaker. I thought they were going to come out weaker versus X. I actually thought that they might lose that game in a close fashion. But the way that Ethan is playing is absurd. This guy is so good at getting value when he's not actually fragging, but then also when he's just in their face, when he's actually like in the situations where he's not supporting. Yes, he's just so damn good. In my mind, had the best performance out of anybody at the tournament so far. Like, he's just way too crazy.
I think for 100 Thieves, though, they need to. There was some, when you watch them play, though, there was definitely, considering what we thought was going to be, because they went to Berlin, right? And they had a very, very good performance there. I mean, they were at points in contention to, potentially win Berlin, and they're now competing with the teams that are all essentially had very few good results throughout the year to try to desperately try to make it into champions. And I feel like versus that, like, and obviously this is a pretty new exit roster they're playing against, but they look shaky at points. In particular, I think Nitro took, again, some time to wake up on the Jett at points.
Yeah,
and Boy, when you watch Boy's performance here, I think considering he hadn't played in 6 months or something, hadn't played, was fine. But if anyone from that roster does not show up, they could 100% lose to Xset again in a rematch, in my opinion. Like, if I feel like if they just have like one bad day, like, just because of the current standing of their roster, where they have a player that is really not it's very unlikely to frag out ever, and it's having they're kind of just hoping that he survives, essentially. And then you have some instances where Nitro starts out slow and Jett, where you have Asuna could sometimes just disappear for a map. It has happened. So much of the current team's consistency is built around Ethan. So if anyone has if any two players at a time have an off day, then I think this team could lose to Xset in a rematch. Is my particular view on it. But I feel like overall, as long as everyone just shows up to play, they are definitely the favorites.
Yeah, I mean, on this map, Austin just rolled Xset. I mean, they were just doing the same A execute over and over, or just splitting halls, whatever, and Austin was just running and killing everybody. I mean, I think the thing, though, with me, or rather my take on Austin right now with this tournament, I think if you go back to Berlin, part of the issue there was when he was in his Jett era, he got to the point where he was better than almost all the Jets, but was below the god tier Jets. Like, he was not up there at the same level as like the Yay and the Tens, etc. The people that have been playing Jet constantly for like a year plus now, you know? And I think that's where there was the disconnect. But I think that if he were playing the Raze Reyna at, like, hypothetically, if he were playing Raze Reyna and that kind of thing at Berlin, I think he would be more comparable in that god tier of duelists. But whether he were playing Jet or the duelists he's playing now of the Raze Reyna, at the LCQ against these teams, I think he can just pound them. Like, I think he's just beyond the duelists at this tournament, that he can just roll them. But
it was still weird though, because like when I think of Asuna, I think of somebody who, yes, he should be getting entries a good percentage of the time. And actually in this tournament, he was not good in terms of his entering. He was oftentimes dying first or not capitalizing on an opportunity to get a kill, which is something that, for example, in Berlin, he was very, very good at. I think it was like +10 or something in Berlin, first kills to first deaths. In this tournament, I think he's like -5. And in certain games, he was -5 in one game, which is just absurd for somebody like Asuna, which is kind of scary to that point, Wyatt. But you think of that, and then you think of still what he was able to do in those matches, even in the games where he was playing poorly and had -5 or whatnot. I think that was like the opening game against Gen.G. They're still dominating, and Asuna's still fragging out. So it's like, how the hell is that happening? Yet he's still having such a crazy impact. And so you think of Bren, what you were saying earlier, where he's getting put in more supportive roles and not necessarily being in the entry, because Nitro is having fantastic impact as an entry, and that's what's covering it. So that's scary, but also really nice at the same time.
Yeah. So all right. Now the thing I do want to talk about us and some of these other teams, which is just talking about now the event being online versus being at LAN. What teams or players do we think this is going to affect? Will it affect anything significantly enough to actually make a difference on end results? That is the question. And I think Austin is one player who, I don't know, maybe he'll do better online, honestly. He might go off harder online. But do 100 Thieves then overall lose their LAN experience advantage because everyone's back at home? How much do we think that the tournament being online is actually going to affect the results?
I think Xset are going to be more comfortable. They're playing in more usual circumstances now if they're playing back home. Is there any disagreements with that?
No, I agree. Okay, so here, I'll frame it like this. What teams do we think are going to get like a buff from being at home now versus being at LAN?
All I can think of is Xset, right?
I think Xset and LG. LG for the reasons I already said, where they've given more time to actually figure out what was going wrong. I don't like. I think we've already come to the conclusion. It wasn't really like a LAN buff. It was more like their coach was screaming behind them, and they were playing pretty well. They were incorporating Tig really, really nicely into the team, and their game plan of putting him in bratty positions was really paying dividends. But yeah, I'm expecting those two teams to do really well, and potentially Rise as well. I didn't really know what we were going to expect from that match. I really have just been perpetually blue balled. I was honestly, that match, that was about to pop the fuck off on day 2, and the fact that we're waiting until what, the 27th. How long ago? Where is that?
Day 2
it was like 7 days.
Kind of better.
Yeah, man, that match is gonna still bang, I think. But yeah, I think Xset Luminosity.
Yeah.
I think my stocks that I had about FaZe are just like I was saying a lot of times that it was like not really the land buff that I was putting on, but like deep in the back of my brain, I was like, it's really the land buff from FaZe that's the reason why I'm putting them so high. I don't know. I actually feel like a lot of the teams, especially FaZe and Rise, who were so close to playing, they were there. Like literally, FaZe was there getting tested. Rise was set up. They were on stage. Like, I feel like those teams are just. I know it's 2 weeks, but I'm still like, I'm wondering if they're just mentally boomed, like not getting to play, and now they're gonna overthink the matches that are coming up. They're gonna watch and see 100 Thieves already in the upper final. They're like, what the fuck? Like, this is so fucking unfair. Like, I don't know. It just feels much different now for all of these teams. So I'm not as high as FaZe. I'm not as high on Rise. Version 1 nobody was really high on, except like me and Wyatt were kind of like, yeah, we were kind of like, you know, but
version 1 I'm not. I still think that they're being underrated in a general sense.
Yes.
Like people just have forgotten they exist. I think they're being underrated, but I do think that they're one of the teams that I had some confidence in because it was LAN 2. And they've got the experience. So I still think that they'll overperform expectations, but I don't. I'm not as confident online versus LAN. I think some of the other teams that are just at home and chilling could kind of boom them.
I think maybe. Rise will be okay as well. Sorry to pivot.
What online?
Yeah, I think Rise will be
well, they've been final. They've been solid online.
They've only been online. Right? I think they would have been fine on LAN too, honestly. They're like,
I thought they were going to get their LAN buff. I thought Rise was one of those teams that was going to vibe the fuck out on LAN, like hardcore.
Well, to be fair though, like, you know, I think it was like, who was it? Like Infamous, the GM of FaZe, was telling us how like Shanks has to like mute everyone in lobby whenever he plays, but as soon as they get so he doesn't get tilted or something. But then as soon as they get to land, like the FaZe dudes,
Zachary or somebody gave him that info. Or
it was something like that. And then like he can't mute people on land, right? Like if Baby stands the fuck up and just like flips a table and fucking calls him a dork, you know, like
squaring up to him.
There's just like nothing, you can't mute that shit, you know, like so there is a possibility that maybe
Shanks on land, he's just as fucking like loud and
I don't know. That's just what we were told.
I played against Shanks.
I definitely don't think FaZe is gonna pop off online though. We've seen phases online. You know, we've seen it. It's just not gonna go big.
I wanted to talk at all. With this topic. We didn't mention them yet, but I wanted to talk about Cloud9 a little bit too, because I was not very confident in Cloud9's chance. I mean, Josh isn't here to defend his Cloud9 or winning the event take, but I think they have a better chance of winning this event online than they did at LAN. Now I don't think, if this was online, now I don't think Josh's Cloud9 pick is as outlandish, honestly.
Well, one thing you could always do when an event is online is just, you know, comparatively to LAN, is just increase RNG by like 20%. That's what LAN essentially does, is it removes a lot of variance from the results.
Why do you think it will make a difference, Wyatt?
What, for Cloud9?
Yeah, for Cloud9.
I think they just strike me as one of the teams that's just, they'd be more comfortable playing at home. I think they're just going to be more of a comfortable online team. I mean, I know Vanity's super experienced and he's got a big personality on LAN and all that. So, you know, that's all good. But
I am high up on Cloud9.
I am too. I think that they have just a better chance online now. I think that it's way more realistic that they could win this event online. And I'm more worried about 100 Thieves. And it's also just what Ball said. It's just an RNG factor. I'm more worried about 100 Thieves now not winning.
Yes.
If it was LAN, I mean, LAN, I was 100% all the way. I didn't care that Boy was joining. They have... I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep fucking saying it. They have Austin, they have Ethan, and also, guys, they have Nitro. And I was so super confident on LAN that they would win. But online, I'm worried about 100 Thieves not being able to make it now. That some of these teams that are going to have online like, what's Boy going to do when Leaf's just swinging him and shit? Like, it's just... The online RNG confidence that's going to be there is the type of thing that can just random 100 Thieves out of a game. If they're not all the way on, you know, on point, if everything isn't tightened up, you know, that's where problems can come in. But go off, Balla. Speak some facts to the people.
You mentioned 100 Thieves, right? And yeah, in general, it's like you just think about 100 Thieves and it's like, okay, yeah, they should win the tournament. Yes, they might have LAN experience. That might be a LAN buff or whatever. But they just played 2 matches, and a major advantage for them coming into this was people didn't know what the fuck they were going to play, right?
Yeah.
Straight up, they didn't know what Boy was going to do. They didn't know whether Nitro Jett was going to be a problem. They didn't know how
this guy's
was going to
spitting
play.
facts.
So they've revealed everything. That was their entire hands, and now they don't have a prep advantage anymore. And whether that was a factor or not, I honestly don't know. But still, no prep advantage, and actually other teams now can prep against them, I think is a major disadvantage, especially if they continue to play the same way, the same comps, which I think they should. However, their comps are abusable. They don't have a Sentinel in most of them, and I'm pretty sure even on the maps that they aren't playing or that didn't play at this event, because we still had questions on some of them. I think Haven, was it? Is there permabanning Bind? Haven Icebox? I don't know. Whatever. There was 2 maps I think that they didn't play. And
no, they played Icebox, but they dominated Gen.G on Icebox. It was definitely they definitely did not play.
I think the point was that they didn't play their like any maps that have to have conventional comps, right? Like for sure have to have the conventional comps. So we didn't know whether they were actually going to play Sentinelist on all the different maps. Sentinelist comps are abusable. They you know, there are holes that you can fill by just playing a little bit better on attack side, or just in general having like some extra delay on defensive side. But they are places that you can find gaps and you can find holes that 100 Thieves has to work overtime to cover. So there is prep there that can be abused against 100 Thieves, which worries me down the line.
Yeah. That is very true. I mean, you're speaking to whether or not it's or to how much of a factor. I guess that's just the question, right? Because it is a factor, undeniably, that teams now know what they're doing. It's just how much of one will it be? But it is one. Yeah.
They do have 2 days before they play. They play on the 29th. The actual tournament starts on the 27th because they're in the upper bracket. Which does help. Like, yeah, it helps. I think you're spitting facts, Balla, but it's I think that takes a bit of the damage away from it potentially showing their hands.
Also, we're getting a crucial point. Pushes up glasses, Nurge. The whole tournament was already online. It was
all right. We're moving on. All right, and we're moving on. And we're all good. We're moving on, guys. I've had enough of this competitive talk. Show me the skins. Guys, I've had enough of this 100 Thieves, tactics and strategy, and who's going to win? Dude, show me the skins, Kurt. It's the RGX 11Z Pro, the new graphics card from NVIDIA. Pull it up.
Yeah, it does sound like a graphics card.
I think there's going to be a fucking issue here. Oh, he still has it. You're active. God.
Kurt, the production PC Valorant store yesterday was straight gigafire. It had 4 gold legendary skins. It had 3 knives. It had the butterfly knife, and it had what else did it have, Kurt? Yeah, pull up the screenshot. I've never seen a more absolute dummy fire store than this. Pull it up, Kurt.
I think it had Elder Flame something, maybe the Vandal.
I can't remember. It had wait, here's a screenshot. This was it yesterday. It had the fan, and it had the butterfly knife, and then the classic, the prism knife, you know what I mean? Everybody bought that back in beta, you know what I mean? And then the Zed Guardian. I've just never seen 4 golds in the store before. Just on the production PC Valorant.
And your persona on Plat chat about not being a skin buyer is fucking bullshit, because you never see a store like that.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, no. Listen, Balla. That's old times. I've spent hundreds of dollars on skins now. It's tragic. But anyway, let's find out if I'll spend 30 more on these skins.
These skins had a bunch of FPS issues tied into them, right? When you fully unlock the animation on them, apparently they tanked the FPS because they've got all these new effects. They've got like the new lighting, and I think they make specific sounds as well. I don't know. It's very unique. If you showed a gun, Kurt.
Gen.G. Am I right, guys?
It was Gen.G.
Gen.G.
Anyone get that joke?
No.
Oh, they got a nice little. There's a nice little like blender in it.
Yeah,
too.
so it's like additional. They're definitely testing new tech with these skins.
Yeah,
like the animation that's going on with it. When you fire it, it's like popping off. It's got like I think it's got like a kill counter on it as well. So it's all these additional
kill counter that is round only. What a useless piece
I mean, it's
of graphical element.
Listen,
so dumb.
TF2 did it first. That's what I'm saying, and they did it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently there was a bunch of like FPS issues when you run these skins on the highest unlock settings.
I'll be honest, Kurt. You get ready. FPS issues, I don't buy. Nope, never buy. Just fucking instant.
I think they're fixing them though.
I don't care. Don't care. I'm never touching the skin again. If there's an FPS issue, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I need my performance. I need my 8,000 frames out of my Ryzen 5, whatever.
Dude, he has 8,000 frames. You playing with IBM Watson over there?
I need it.
Dude, yeah, I like that what they've implemented with the tech of these skins. I like that you've got the new shit that they're putting in, but I want to see it used in a different, more creative way. Because this just kind of reminds me of like the Nerf guns, you know? In terms of like the design of it, it's like I know it's supposed to be very like gamer-esque, like the fucking RGB and the
RGB.
It's
I love
to be
RGB lights.
It's supposed to look like
you don't have to worry about the
Babe,
like
come over and look at my
RAM.
Corsair keyboard.
Yeah, but I personally, I'm gonna stick with my my Prime Vandal.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with my laser gun.
Prime is so overrated. Like, what?
No,
the
it's
fuck
not.
is that?
Dude, it beams.
So overrated.
What do you mean it's overrated? What do you use?
That shit is so overrated.
What do you use, Balla?
I use the Minima Phantom.
Shut the fuck up.
Right.
This
Cut
guy's got the
mic.
Tesla Cybertruck of fucking
Cut his
skins.
mic.
No.
Yeah, I'm
Are
gonna.
you kidding me?
I'm gonna say it. I'm not buying. I'm not getting this.
There's a graphics card though.
There's a graphics card. I'm
there's
gonna
actually
say,
a graphics card.
Yeah, there is. There's a graphics card, gun buddy.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna say something interesting too, Wyatt, to pack off your interesting thing.
Okay.
This is gonna be the first skin. No joke. If there was not FPS issues, I would actually get this.
Really? You would buy this?
Yeah.
He's dropping the bag.
I actually would
What?
because I think it looks fucking cool. I just think it looks kind of cool. Like, with the little
Avast.
gyro like going on in there. I think the kill counter thing, even if it's not like some fucking like TF2 level kill counter type of shit, you know, like sure, why not? But it's like still cool. I like the effects for it. I think it's like the closest I'll get to owning a new graphics card. So I think overall it's kind of sick. And on top of that, Wyatt was talking about the RGB lighting being an issue. I don't have to worry about B lighting anymore. I have Valkyrie's new skincare product. I don't have to worry about blue lighting anymore. It's all good. I don't have to worry about the lighting hitting me. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
no, I actually do kind of like the look of it.
I'm not mad at it. These are. I don't dislike them by any means. It's just this is not where I'm going to be putting my money. You know what I mean? But I respect that. I respect your opinion, Connor, and your take as an independent girl boss that you're going to buy these skins.
That's
all right.
Up. I get roasted every time, and if Avast buys one skin and he's not getting roasted,
That's because I'm unique.
Not getting roasted.
I'm unique like that.
Not getting roasted. All righty. What else is going on in the world, huh? We got Europe. You guys remember that region? Gambit, huh?
I'm
Berlin.
excited to talk about this.
So the European LCQ happened. G2 were in it. Guild were in it. You know, SMB were in it. Footballist were in it.
Yep.
Anubis Gaming were in it. But who won it? Team Liquid, goddammit. Fucking
right.
Team Liquid.
You called it.
Team Liquid took that W. Nivera comes in first round. Lace. Something light. Something light for the people.
Little lace thing.
Yeah, a little light showing from Nivera. Liquid did it. I mean, Nivera was not. Nivera wasn't just like pretty good. That was a hell of a debut for a Counter-Strike pro switching over. I mean, that was a top tier debut from him. And I felt like you could still see moments where you could tell he wasn't fully adjusted to the game. Where sometimes like his positioning would be kind of awkward, or rather it was like there were moments where if it was on his POV, you could tell in real time he was kind of like trying to figure out how to effectively position himself. It wasn't just that, doing it without thought, second nature. You're so used to the game, you just know where you need to be kind of thing. Like you could tell he was figuring things out sometimes in real time. But despite that, he was still so good. I was blown away. I really like the Liquid comps that they were running. I like how much Astra they were playing. Yampy was I was shocked at how good Yampy was. He was playing so many different roles. He was playing Astra, he was playing Sova, he was playing Jett. I was blown away
The Sliggy diff. I remember months and months and months ago, he was saying how he was prioritizing, when nobody else was, a diverse agent pool on all of his players, because he's going into it. I mean, I don't know if this is the opinion that he still holds, but ages ago he was going into it with the impression that if they keep releasing agents, inevitably there is going to be either a ban stage or a pick ban stage introduced into the game. And so having agent diversity is a huge thing. And it reared its head in the grand finals for sure. Everybody was playing different roles. I was mad impressed with Liquid watching this, because again, I do not have high expectations. If you introduce, even if a player is coming from CS, I don't care how good you are. Valorant's a different game. It's attack FPS, sure. The fundamentals are gonna play a key role in terms of how you trade, how you clear angles, the basic shit. But in terms of how the game plays out, it's got an added dimension to it with the ultimates and the abilities. But they put him on role where it's similar to Boy, I think, with 100 Thieves, except Liquid actually did it a little bit better, where they put him on roles, they give him setups to play either on the Viper or whatever else he was playing on the Viper mainly, and also the Killjoy. Yeah, they give him setups that he can play around, but ultimately a lot of his value is coming from him just having really clean fundamentals, playing with the team on retakes, always being able to play with the rest of the team incredibly well. I do see issues with Liquid in the future. With as much as they do have good agent diversity, there are some holes in it. The fact that Soulcast is their Sky player, and when they swap around the roles so much, like on Split, they have Link playing Breach, because I don't think he plays Sky. I see issues with that in the future, because I just don't think Breach is particularly good. I think it's a worse Sky, ultimately. But in general, really impressed. Dead impressed with Liquid. They went above and beyond what I was expecting from them.
You guys like 4 or 5 episodes ago, I think, like after Berlin Calls happened, you guys were like, does Liquid need a change? And everybody's like, yeah, they could probably do a change for LCQ. I was like, no change. Like, just play LCQ. It's fine. Look, I admit, I was fucking wrong as hell. Like, very, 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 very wrong. However, I will say, I feel lied to. Because everybody's talking, yes, and I'll tell you why. Everybody's talking Nivera. Nivera's coming to Team Liquid. I'm like, oh, okay. And then everybody's like, yeah, he's Scream's brother. I'm like, oh wow, cool. It's Scream's brother. What I did not know is this man is literally playing like tier 1 CS as like with Vitality with Zywoo, that team that was fucking popping off that only could lose to Simple and his gods. Like, he was on that team and playing at such a high level. So I feel lied to, because all I heard was, this is Scream's brother. It's just Scream's brother. So I didn't know. I thought he was just like, mini me, and he wasn't fucking good at the game or something like that. It's like little headshot machine. I'm like, okay, well, that's not that impressive. Cool, you can hit headshots. He is so good, not just at aim as you expect from Scream, but his fundamentals are amazing. You're talking about like him trying to figure out repositioning. No, I honestly think that most of the time he's just making the right play, or making the right play in a situation if his teammates also made the right play, right? That's how I feel like Nivera is playing. And it's so cool because on top of that, he has this innate ability to op. I think back then he was secondary opper for Vitality, also something I didn't know. And he's just a pure opper. So when you see him in these opening games, you're just like, holy fuck, like he's hitting every single shot better than anybody else. Like, for example, I think I had the same feeling when I was watching Yappy when he first started. I was like, oh, okay, like this guy like is better than any of the other oppers, because he's just locking down an angle, and that angle is not getting pushed off. No matter how hard you try, and he's gonna hit the shots. He has the pre-positioning or whatever. It's very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, go on.
Go ahead. I have one more point after this, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you were wading into the territory that I was gonna bring up anyhow, which is the double op. I mean, that's not something that has really been done, to the extent that they were doing it. Certainly not on a team of that level, but they were running double op on defense constantly with Yampy and Nivera. And I mean, at times it had the problem that double op always does, which is if you need to retake, it's not easy to do with 2 ops. I mean, that is the downfall of it. The upside of it is when you have 2 unbelievably consistent oppers, Yampy in prime form and Nivera looking excellent. They were just shutting down so many rounds, just getting early picks, and it's just over from there. It was cool to see. I mean, it was just cool to see a different style at that. I'm interested to see how it'll perform against more top teams when we get there, if they continue to run that eventually when we're at Champions. But it was cool. I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, and on top of the double op thing, like they're both not like sometimes neither of them are playing Jett. It like kind of unlocks the ability to play ops without playing Jett.
Yeah.
That no other team is really doing. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are, but yeah. The other point I wanted to make was bringing Nivera in. I think, and Bren, you're kind of talking about this when you're mentioning Boy, but like Nivera clearly has been playing this game for a long time.
Yeah,
it's not like he came into this fresh. It's not like some of the other guys, CS guys who came over, like Ethan, for example, where they keep him on one agent for a long time. He already has a diverse agent pool, and that's why like when you mention Boy being able to fit into a bunch of different roles, it's just because he's been playing the game, right? And so I feel like that's the way to do it if you're a CS guy transitioning over, is because that gives you the opportunity to not just be pigeonholed into one thing, and especially on a team like Liquid, which requires agent diversity, is very important. So they did it the right way, where subbing Cryptics in earlier for Nivera could have went disastrous, because Nivera could have not had this diversity that Cryptics had back before. So very well done. I love that from Liquid. It's very, very nice.
When we look forward to Liquid here too, and this Nivera ad, do we feel confident about their future heading forward? You know, as we look forward to like champs now, right? And I think yes, right? Yeah, I think we could all say like yes, like they still have some, like obviously we're still worried at times that like, well, where do we get with like, where does the Yampy strats feel? But I feel like that they've kind of ironed out the Yampy strat portion of it. I feel like when we watched the EMEA LCQ, I did not see too many instances of like, okay, Yampy, it is time to feed, and like it is time to just like walk in off that feed. It's like, no, like I feel like it was pretty well rounded. Nivera added a lot of fragging power and a lot of really good fundamental play to them. And like you talked about Balla, he already has like a pretty decent hero pool, or I want to hero pool, agent pool and agent diversity. But I will say that it's still like mostly Sentinel based, right? Like they brought him in, he was playing a lot of Sentinel, he was playing a lot of Viper, which makes the most sense for the majority of the people that transferred over initially, because it's still very fundamentally based. But I think overall that like this is a pretty good roster for Liquid currently. It feels like they're in their groove, and they have a lot of fragging power. The only downside, like you said, Bren, is like sometimes on split where they have to put Link, where Link is sometimes on the breach. It's quite on Raze, you know.
It's quite rare that they have those issues, but when they do show up, I was watching this split game and I was thinking, God, because Soulcast is their Sky player, like, and if they're swapping the roles around so much that they have to have like, I can't see the roles because the camera's covering it up. I can't really recall, but I do know. Oh yeah, because Soulcast they put on Raze because he's been playing on since beta. So like you want him on the Raze in general. I just
production value.
I think goddamn Kurt, you know you're popping the fuck off. You're looking vascular, dude. I think with time this team is going to look really strong. But what you were saying, Balla, about like it's pretty clear that he's been playing a game. He's been playing a game, but I think some credit needs to be handed off to the coaching staff of Liquid, which they've got an analyst now alongside Sliggy as well. They've got a pretty big team, I think, in terms of I definitely think they've been setting him up to succeed by putting him on roles and showing him, okay, these are your setups, these are how you're going to be playing these roles. And I don't know this for sure. I haven't been following CS in a long time, but when I was watching the finals, rewatching it, people in my chat were telling me that Nivera plays quite a lurking play style. Something that capitalizes off catching timings off of his opponents, and it absolutely plays into his strengths there with the roles that he's playing. And just to touch on the double opping, actually, to have a different opinion, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think they got away with murder a little bit. There's the inherent weaknesses on retakes of the double op setup. They were popping the fuck off. They were going into the sites and they were just finding the picks with the retakes. Sometimes they were just pulling out the frenzy and just out dueling people with rifles. I don't think you're going to be able to do that against a lot of other teams.
Yep, you just jumping in with a classic right click and shit.
I don't think you're going to be able to get away with that as much. And here's a brilliant example of the clip of Wiper Reach is bad, even though they just won the round. But I think his ult is just not very good. It's with time, this Liquid squad looks like a big contender. I'm a big fan. I'm liking what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, the roster is super well-rounded now, and if Yampy continues to play... I mean, I think one of the big questions, though, is can Yampy keep up this level, too? Because I think he was really in peak form here.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to put up the numbers he was across a number of different agents, and the agents that he was playing. I mean, he was like opping on Astra, but also just rolling. I mean, like, that type of play is rare in general, so if he can keep it up, that would be pretty astounding. But if he can, I mean, they've got an absolutely nutty roster from top to bottom, and I like that. Since post that KO experiment, they have just gone back to duelists, and I like it. I like when Scream plays the duelist and gets some kills. And I like when Soulcast plays the duelist and just gets some kills, because I feel like when you watch Soulcast on Raze, you can just see in his play that he's at his most confident, and I like it. I like to see it. Well, one of the teams that didn't make it, they're G2. Remember them? They're at Berlin. They beat Crew and whatever. they did that stuff.
High up on G2.
They did not qualify through the last chance qualifier because they did, in fact, lose to Team Liquid in the upper final. I mean, the title card here was G2 overrated?
I think that the LAN buff that you saw from G2 playing in that environment with Kellogg's as well, popping the fuck off, it got lost when they moved to online, which was always a risk, I think, that we were talking about. We talked about G2. I thought that they were going to carry that momentum forwards from Berlin. I thought they were going to be able to carry that form forwards and have a really good shot, but I think it did rear its head. Kellogg's, in instances, he did pop off, but in general, statistically, if you look at the entire event, so looking at the entirety of Berlin versus LCQ, less games played in LCQ, obviously, because of the double round robin and in Berlin, but like just to pull out the ACS that I'm pulling, which actually I think might get calculated incorrectly. Is it ACS that gets calculated incorrectly?
I don't know. Josh keeps saying that.
Yeah, Josh keeps talking about it. Anyway, I'm just going to pull from these stats because I'm assuming it's all relative, and if it does calculate it incorrectly, it's all incorrect across the board, but whatever. So Kellogg's
point still stands.
257 ACS, one of the top players in Berlin. I think he was in the top... Yeah, so he's in the top 6 of players when it comes to ACS performances. And when it comes to LCQ, he's a lot lower down. He ended up pulling out 213 ACS comparatively. So a lot less in terms of the numbers that he's pulling out, just as a general blanket statement. You could tell just from watching the games as well, like that extra impact that he carried in Berlin, that carried them over the finish line in some of the matches where he would just be dominating, was missing. He was back down to the online form, and you saw G2 kind of revert a little bit.
Allow me to pose a question. Is that because of a LAN buff, or is that because the quality of teams they were playing at Berlin was lower than the quality of teams they just played in this LCQ?
I think it's a LAN buff.
Sentinels.
Yeah, they played Sentinels.
Say the quality of teams was lower.
They played a weaker Sentinels, like arguably one of the weakest lookers.
They played a weaker Sentinels. They played F4Q twice, and they played Crew.
Yeah.
I'm posing a question. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false.
Like it, and I won't answer it. You guys can answer it.
I think it's fair to say for F4Q and Crew, despite being a Vamos Crew person, despite me Vamoising with the rest, I feel like that's like honestly pretty fair. And also Sentinels were looking weaker too, but I feel like Sentinels was still a very solid team at Berlin. It's just they were just looking weaker. But like if you think of F4Q and fucking Crew, those were probably worse teams than the Liquid they played, and even the Guild team that they played and got knocked out to in the lower final, right? Like
David Beckham.
I really do think that that's probably the case. I also feel like when I was watching LCQ as well, comparatively to Berlin, the supportive players for G2, minus maybe Coldamenta, but like Mixwell in particular and like Avova were playing a lot better at Berlin.
At Berlin, I agree.
Yeah, Avova and Mixwell are both playing really well at Berlin. And I feel like that's also part of the portion here when we look at this. It's not just Kellex not showing up. It's just like they weren't getting nearly as much value out of their utility, out of like their flashes. They weren't taking as much space. They weren't getting as many ratty angles from it. They just weren't getting, and also like their anchors. Like Avova, sometimes he was the fucking the titanium neutron anchor at points in Berlin where he would just like take out 4 people on a site. And at no point did that happen nearly as often here in LCQ. So I do feel like this is also kind of a downgrade across the board for G2. And forgetting the most important thing is that they were cursed by their analyst by shit-talking Guild. And their analyst shit-talked Guild, and then they got 2-0. So, you know, it's like...
I actually rolled by David. Absolutely rolled. Yeah.
Rolled by Bonkers specifically, because Rojo was going in on him. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen somebody go that fucking hard.
Bonker slander. Everybody's always always shit talking Bonker. He doesn't put up the biggest numbers, but I mean,
hold on. Wait.
People use him as a running gag.
I know. Bonker does get a lot of shit. Hold on. Do any final points on G2 before we get to Guild? Is there anything else we want to say about G2? I mean, this is their year is over. They invested $19 million into this roster. It hasn't done what they set out to do, which was make champions. They did win. The big victory for this roster was that they won the Clout War against Sentinels. That was their big win. But other than that, they didn't get any actual in-game trophies. They didn't get the game wins, right? I don't know. What is the takeaway right now with G2? Do we want them to continue with this roster moving forward? What is the plan for these guys?
I think a rebuild is on the cards.
Yes. Let's call it a fail. Straight up, because obviously the goals for them was champions, and you could tell that because of the way that they restructured the team. Basically after what was it, Masters 2, the way that they were trying to restructure the team before that, like they're consistently trying to make moves that'll put them in a position to do well. And they just got top 4 at Berlin. Maybe a weaker side of that top 4 than everybody else, but yeah, that is important to note. They were very close to making it to champs, and unfortunately they fall short in a moment that was their last hope. Now we're not going to see them for so fucking long. So yes, I think we can call it a fail, and restructuring is on the cards. So that is like my conclusion for G2. I do want to bring it back real quick and talk about the actual performance there, because you guys touched on a lot of different points. You guys are talking about Mixwell and like playing decently. I actually thought that this was his worst tournament I think I've ever seen from him. In some of those series, so many moments.
You're talking LCQ.
LCQ, yes.
Yeah, we were saying Berlin.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Either way, okay. So you're comparing Avova and Mixwell from Berlin to now, and yes, it was weaker, but this was one of the worst tournaments I think I've seen from him. And I was not that impressive with him at Berlin either, but not making these types of mistakes. Like I was watching this, and I don't know if you guys have watched like Launder's Lucky or Bad or anything like, or Unlucky or Bad in some of these instances. Some of these games, I'm just like, wow, this would be a really good video for that, because that was just tragic. Like the decisions he's making, the whiffs that he sometimes hits is just like, wow. Compare that to the beginning of the stage 3, where everybody's like, holy shit, Mixwell's back. He's playing Viper and Sentinel, and he's so good at it. It was just like, no, like Guild was abusing the shit out of him. How many times they hit A on the beginning of Haven, because Mixwell was setting up there, was absurd. And he was just not able to stop them at all. As playing Killjoy, you're supposed to be able to delay them at least a little bit, and they were just like not getting anything from it, and he was just dying. It was really, really bad. So I don't know what a restructure looks like to bring it back.
Sure.
Because I think you build around Nuki for sure.
And Kellogg's.
Yeah.
But that sucks proved that he could,
because you're fucking building around 2 duelists. Like that is so tragic.
That's what I mean.
Maybe Avova adds in there too, because I really like Avova, but Avova in this tournament was making some bad decisions too. How many times he was dying first as Astra on bind in some situations? Just like why are you taking these risks?
Sure. Do you agree with that, Connor? That G2 was a fail? Time to blow it up?
I feel like if I was an org, from a wider org perspective, right? If we don't look at like pure competitive integrity, right? I'd be like, okay, the Clout War in terms of wider esports is honestly the larger war. Like that is like the larger war. It gets you more revenue, more eyeballs on your team long term. But you also spent a very pretty penny building this roster, and you're not winning.
Yeah, you can't participate in the clout war if you're not in the tournament.
You're not good.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So
I do,
and also I think Balla's point is a very good point too, in that the fact that imagine having to go for another potentially very expensive rebuild, and you're building around 2 duelists, and you don't have any like core pieces, like you don't have any like strong supporting pieces to build around, which is extremely important. You know, like you can go to like the EU rank ladder where like no one talks, and you can find some 15-year-old like Belgian kid that's dropping like 40 every game, you know, or some shit, right? But like it's really hard to find a player that's going to be an excellent anchor. And I'm sure Carlos really hopes it was going to be Mixwell. That was going to be a really good supportive player here that could sometimes flex on like some duelist picks, because like he showed some promise when he initially made the swap, but it's just not happening here. And it's kind of evident that you really need to be getting a lot more value out of the supportive players. And in particular, like I'm really disappointed so far in the Coldamenta performance comparatively to where he was, I think, playing previously before coming on to G2. So it is really unfortunate, but it's probably the reality is you do have to get some better supportive players around Kellox and around Nuki in particular.
The one thing that sucks is that we were I think we were all right when we said this team has a lot of potential, because we see how many bright spots there have been. For example, Mixwell, right? Back in the beginning of all this. And for example, Coldamenta, when he first joined this team as the IGL, his Sova was on point. Like in my mind, he was one of the best Sovas, like comparable to how Leo performed in this tournament. It was just really, really good. His shock darts were hitting constantly, getting a lot of value with Undersberry and all these different things. And obviously just having an IGL Sova is kind of nice in general, because he can control the flow with his info. But it just all not coming together at the same time. You expected Nuki to pop off at the beginning. He wasn't doing that. Now he pops off in this tournament, the last opportunity, and it's just like all disjointed, right? These good performances are happening individually at random times, but not syncing together. And you can see it in the gameplay. It has always felt disjointed. It has never felt as if the team is all on one single like page together. So you try to go for it, but at some point you're like, this combination of people is just not working the way that we hoped.
Yeah, I mean they are they're just from both the I don't know the players, the team overall, and also the org. I mean they are just stuck in a tricky situation now. I mean there's that one, what is it? There's like the Red Bull Homeground tournament.
Yep.
So they have that they're going to play in, but other than that, I mean the year is looking dry. They're just going to be waiting until 2022, and yeah, I mean, is it reasonable for them to blow it up at this point? Do they try and stick it out and see if things get better with this 5? I don't know. I mean, I could see them giving it until, you know, you want to play in the home ground and play with the same 5 and see if you can improve from here, sure, but at that point, does that even mean enough? I don't know. It's just such a tough situation that they're now in, and with how much money and time has been put into this project that just didn't pan out. But it's also the project was built with such a lofty goal, right? I mean, it was a huge goal that this was built for, and they come a little bit short. Is that enough of a result? I mean, when your goal is so high, does falling short by a bit, is that a total failure, or is that, I wonder if they see that as like, oh well, we had a huge goal and we did okay. You know what I mean?
I think for G2, yeah. I mean, you just know the culture of G2. That's part of the reason why I'm talking about blowing it up in the first place, because I know how G2 thinks in all of their games, right? Except for maybe Counter-Strike is the one place where it's like not blowing it up constantly, but like that's just how the org is.
Sure.
So yeah, and I also think that they shot themselves in the foot by not playing in a lot of these open qualifier tournaments that are qualifying for deeper events and stuff like that, because there's a lot of them and they just can't play in any of them outside of like the ones that they get invited to, like Red Bull.
Right. All right. Well, on to another EU team that has actually blown up now. It's SuperMassive Blaze. The team, it's over. Par is looking for a team. Russ is looking for a team. They're looking for teams. The team is dead. After I mean, such an odd trajectory. The team is formed as the Turkish super team. They blast through the Berlin bracket, make it to Berlin, don't play well on LAN, and now really crumble in this LCQ. I mean, losing to one of the other Turkish teams, Footballists, to get knocked out. So rough times for SMB. I mean, they lose to Guild in the first round as well. They narrowly beat One Breath. Yeah, I mean, just a rough showing for SMB, and after that, they call it quits. The team is over. Mm-hmm. Do you think that they called it too early here?
There's a time. This is the time, right?
Yeah. If there was ever a time for a blow up, this is it. You know,
sure. Yeah, you're gonna see that.
Thanks, Esports, Doug.
You're gonna see that often, but also there's so much talent in the Turkish scene that you can chop and change rosters. I think you're gonna see a big mix-up in terms of where these players go, and they might not even join Turkish teams. There's opportunities for them as well in EMEA just to flex as well. Definitely some good players. Who was it who's leaving SMB? Was it Turco?
Russ,
it's
Para.
Turco, Russ, and Para, yeah.
All right, yeah.
I mean, and Russ in particular is a talent. So
looking at Russ probably some of the best players on that roster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do think there is, like, I also think the thing about this roster too, and it's like the classic super team conundrum, is that, like, if they don't perform well, like, especially like on a LAN event too, and in the span of like a couple events, I feel like because of the conditions that these are formed, it's like a volcanic rock, you know. It can be kind of crazy, you know. You have a bunch of big personalities, big talents striking against each other. The tectonic plates fucking moving under, over, and like. But the point here is that it's just unstable. If they're not gelling, it's very likely this team would fall apart anyways, because this is filled with some of the best players from the region, and more often than not, it is not a team that was necessarily built on like, oh, we did really extensive trials, see how everyone fit together. And our thing, it's like, holy fuck, this guy popped off on the X squad. This guy popped off an X squad. What if we just put them into this squad together, right? And so I personally think from like a culture perspective, a lot of the times, it's oftentimes better for a super team to just like try to maybe adjust it a bit if you're not getting initial success, because they're just not formed in what I would consider like manners of roster building that really are fundamentally sound. It's kind of just, these are all really big names and good players, let's put them on a roster, you know? So I'd rather make small adjustments over time, have players leave, come back, maybe make a more comprehensive roster building process than just like continue to try to force it to see where I feel like these egos are going to clash.
God, it's time for G2 to just sign Heretics. Just get Para, get Russ too, bring Nisao back from wherever he's at. It's time.
Yeah.
But see, that's once again, you know, we run into another issue potentially of like, oh, we've built a new G2 super team. Oh, by the way, we're not doing that well because we didn't build the roster like comprehensively. Okay, time to rebuild again. Yeah, like, you know, it's just like we're just throwing players on our rosters without actually seeing.
Sign like, MW0, fly him out, get him out of Brazil. Get him out of Brazil and bring him to Europe.
Dude, get Laz from Japan. Just get Laz.
I think it's the only option though for these teams is a rebuild off of. Well, not the only option. Obviously, they have multiple options. They could just continue running with the roster and hope that they see success. But I think you're going to see across the board every team that just came so close to potentially making champs is going to just blow up. The players are going to look for new opportunities. They're going to be trying to shake shit up because, I mean, there's going to be some tournaments that are being ran between now and post champions, but it's going to be few and far between. This is the best time for the rebuild right now. You have to be going for this now. And yeah, for SMB, I mean, this might be the last time we're talking about this organization, because the players that are currently seeking free agency or seeking new teams, there's definitely a lot of talent in Turkey. I mean, Footballers has got half the fucking region on their roster, I'm pretty sure. But they do. They
do have a 20-man roster.
They've got like 20 players or something like that. But you can try and I personally, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see a lot of these players confined to their region. I think some of the biggest issues of SMB came down to a limited playbook and an over-reliance on them to be able to hit their shots. They had great fundamentals working together, but there was that was missing whenever you watched SMB, and sometimes they overcame it with clear gun differential, just being able to shoot heads, the old click head strategy, which never fails.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not reliable.
I mean, I could not stand the comps that they were running would just tilt me. They would tilt me off the planet. And I also think that kind of finally caught up to them at Berlin, and then they tried to make a bunch of switch ups for this LCQ that just did not pan out. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate. They had a cool run, but they were merely a flash in the pan, and will be. You know, they've got a little page in the history book of Valorant, but it's a short one. What were you gonna say, Ball?
That's sad. Well, the book is closed. I think we just closed the book.
Yeah.
That was
Supermassive
a nice
book.
way to tie it up in a
Supermassive
bow.
book. It's not particularly supermassive. The story was rather short, so it's very
Small,
tiny book.
measly book.
All right. The other team. We thought that, listen, we were talking about SMB beating them, just, you know, fragging out on them and that kind of. Didn't happen. David Beckham, Guild, they did it. They made second place. They almost had a good result, but they made second, so cool, but also it's LCQ and only first mattered, so You know what I mean?
Team in
not
EU.
not to be a I don't want to sound like I'm being dismissive
they beat
about
G2,
Guild,
who
but
had a massive Berlin
they beat G2,
performance, right?
they beat SMB, they made it to second. They took the map off Liquid. That cool.
Look at it this way: they murdered like 4 teams. Like those teams are just dead.
Yeah. It's true. But here's my thing again, especially when we're talking about the LCQ, all these teams we're talking about, it's all roster change, the roster's blowing up, what's happening, Russ is going, you know what I mean? All the teams are dying after this, seemingly, or seeking changes, something like that. Guild, they don't make it. Their year's over. They haven't really done anything remarkable this year. They've been pretty much a gatekeeping team all year. It's time for Guild to replace 2 players for 2022. I'm going to say it. Guys, controversial and brave take. They need to no longer be playing with Bonkar, sadly. And they also no longer need to be playing with Draken, sadly, I think, moving into 2022. It is time to make roster changes on this team. They've given it a full year with this squad. They have been a gatekeeping team all year. If they want to reach the next level and be a tier 1 competitor, they must make 2 roster changes. Those are the 2 roster changes that I suggest. Attempt to find a new IGL if possible. Probably probably look for an actual Jett main if this Jett meta is to continue, or at least someone that can play Jett at a really high, comfortable level, along with other agents, ideally, of course, at this point in the game. And probably have Safe on that Sentinel role. That is what I'm looking for from Guild moving forward. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. I would like to see... I know I was trying to defend Bonkar earlier as well, but it was mainly because he is used as the punching bag of EU, both on broadcast and by us and the community. It's just... because he doesn't put up numbers, but, he clearly adds value to the team in terms of a lot of his calling and
of course.
playbook that gets added, which is why I want to see him still be on the team, but move into a coaching position. That might not be what he wants to do, but I think that's where... you'll see the most longevity and success from Bonkar and a lot of his impact, because he's been beneficial to the team, but you just need somebody who's going to be able to put up the numbers in his place. That's my takeaway from that. And I agree as well. Draken as well. Ultimately, I want to see them rebuild around Yassine. I want to see them rebuild around Safe. I want to see them rebuild around Leo. Leo popped the fuck off in this LCQ. Yep. Mm-hmm. He was dominating, man. It was a ridiculous performance from him. Those 3 players, I think, is your core, definitely. Guild, I quite like as an org as well, is that they do actually give their roster time.
Of course you do. Of course you like Guild.
I like that they give. Well, I like the org gives them time. It's like a lot of orgs are quick to make very rapid changes because they god, we gotta shore up the defense. We gotta change this, that, and the other. Give it a bit of time to breathe. The end goal being champions, which they came close to making. They didn't make it. Now is the time to finally chop and make those changes. And I'd like to still see Bonkar have a place on the team, but from outside the team, still supplementing it with his brain. Yeah, in a coaching position, but get some more fragging power on this roster as well.
The numbers argument is definitely one that's very big in like tack shooters in general, of like, this guy is not putting up numbers. So, and I think it's even more apparent in Valorant because there's like a there's even role disparities now, because you have like your Jett player and you have players that are currently built around their role to frag. But so sometimes like we are even guilty sometimes, like, oh, this guy just didn't show up, so they lost, right? Because this guy didn't show up, this one player, right? But I think in this particular case with Bonkar, if you are putting up like consistently like sub 100 ACS, and ADR, like, it's not, you just can't win at the top level with that. You literally cannot win. Like, if you have like the occasional game where that goes on, it's like, oh, that happens to everyone, like fucking like Dre did that in NA LCQ, right, when he was on Jett on split or some shit. Like, I don't even think it was that. It was like 112 ACS or some shit like that. So like, you just can't do
sub
that.
100 ACS is fucking unreal.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think he was. He was sub 100. He was sub 100 ACS over
tournament.
No, but over 2 out of 3 maps in the lower final, they still won with that too.
Wow, yeah,
out of 2,
right.
Which is just crazy, which is just wild. Out of 2 out of the 3 maps in the lower final versus G2, he was sub 100 ACS. Bonkar was. And it's legitimately like, it's just legitimately crazy. But that's enough. I mean, but the thing is, he's a really smart player. Everyone talks about how he adds a lot as an IGL role.
Yeah,
he's clearly someone that has a brain for the game. It's just he might have to. It's just unless he fucking hits the what is it called, the Old Spice training hand gym or whatever, he's not going to be able to. That's like a really old
hand gym.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen those.
The hand
gym.
There
was like an advertisement they used to run on a lot of esports channels of like the Old Spice like hand gym, but like,
oh really?
Yeah. And so I just don't think he's going to be able to perform at the top level unless something changes there. And I think that's like, okay, IGL, it's tough to find, but you brought about the idea of like safe moving to Sentinel. Like, think about this? Does that open up the chance for maybe a Russ acquisition for Guild?
I mean, it depends on if they want to have an international roster or not. And I don't know enough about the Swedish scene to give player suggestions from Sweden. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to harp on Bonker all day, because he obviously adds value, but there just comes a point where, again, you have to assess how much value is someone adding in regards to their IGLing and their calling and their value as a teammate versus what they're actually producing in game. They gave this roster a year. That is a lot. They gave them a lot of time. And I as well, I like when Safe is on the Sentinel. I know there was a period of time where his Killjoy was a little awkward. If he could improve the Killjoy, that'd be great. His Cypher was excellent. I like him on that role. And I don't think that finding a star duelist Jett that can play at the tier 1 EU level is that tough of an ask. I think that's a reasonable acquisition to try to make. So I do think that Guild, I think they have an opportunity to, in 2022, be a tier 1 EU team, so long as they make the right roster.
Tier 1 EU team.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean, Ball. I mean, like, contesting at these LANs and shit.
Okay.
I mean, like, actually being able to be at these events and competing within like the top
impossible
4.
In the EU.
I think that's really realistic. I don't think making those roster moves is too far-fetched or difficult. I just hope that they make them. I think they will at this point.
I'll provide a couple counters, because to be honest, I think that in some instances, and this doesn't speak to the overall theme, I agree with you guys in terms of like overall, on average, Bonker is not contributing enough to give like even more consistent results or top results, which I think is important to try to reach for. However, I think the only reason Guild was in some of these situations was because Bonker. Because of some of his mid-round calls, or because his fucking insane clutches. He hit 2 like 1v3s that obviously
he is in so many clutch situations, it's unreal. He is the last man alive on Guild every single round.
10 out of 37 clutches for this event. 27%. That is significant.
That is
like that is not just some pushover whatever. Like, and he's winning a decent amount. So if he's in,
does that include like 1v1s, 1v2? Is that just everything?
All of it? Yeah.
I mean,
so I
how many
would counter
that
that straight up, but like literally look at. I mean, just look at the game against G2 for example. I think there was 2 like back-breaking clutches that Bonker hit that you're just like, what the fuck? Like that. Number one. They're not like insane clutches that like, oh my god, he just pulled off like some like defo shit or something like, or some nat shit. It is always situations where the other team is kind of throwing. However, not everybody will hit some of those, and I think that's important to note. Number 2, this is about Draken. Draken was good this tournament. Draken was very good this tournament. I love Draken. I honestly think he was one of the better. He was one of the guys who was abusing the most out of anybody on Guild. Bad scenarios from the other team. You watch the game against SMB, and this guy's just abusing the shit out of Pora. He was pushing mid or cave every single round and finding the perfect positions to flank SMB, and honestly was the reason why they were able to come back in that game at all. And that happened on a lot of different maps. His Viper's pretty good. I actually really like him in the Sentinel role. Now, that's not to say, again, that I'm completely countering the idea of, yeah, they should probably switch 2 players, but I don't think that this tournament specifically was what proved that. I think the whole condition of the year is what is doing that. However, if we talk about the context of this tournament, I don't agree.
I agree. I think Draken is I think he's a fine player, and over this year he's been fine. And I think he had good moments in this tournament. I think against Liquid he was, aside from map 1, he was struggling against Liquid. But I agree with that sentiment. It's the year in totality is what I'm referencing here. And yeah, because they gave this roster a year. If they want to reach the next level, I think that 1 change is not enough at this point. I think 2 is... I mean, I don't know. Maybe 1 change would... I don't know. I mean, maybe they could try just 1 change with Bonker and see if that would be enough. But I think if they can make 2 changes, that would be ideal, because I really do think that they are struggling because of their lack of an all-star Jett at this point. I do think that is a problem. So
you also don't have to make sweeping changes with these rosters. Initially, I mean, you have a long time until, because what they're playing for is next year. You have time. You can make individual changes. 1
change after
one
another,
change, one change. That's literally how I think every single team really does it in Valorant, with the exception of a few. But you don't have to make the sweeping changes if that is the case. And I mean, my point still stands. I think Bonkar is the one who's just not putting up the numbers, but his brain is clearly adding value to the team. Just got to move him into a role where he is only the brain and doesn't have to use his hands to shoot heads. And then suddenly you might see some of those scenarios where they play a little bit differently.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. It's time for Guess That Player. And I believe this is a Balla Guess That Player?
Yeah, Guess That Player. Yeah.
Balla's cooking
Balla edition.
I prepped one up for you guys.
Okay.
It's not going to be the same level of, Josh mind games and whatnot, because I just don't have that level of poker face. So we're gonna have to go with it. These are some interesting scenarios, and it is this Nivera focus. So let's go ahead, guys. Good luck.
Okay.
Is this
Wait. So there's just
this is for EMEA LCQ, right? I'm assuming these stats.
You got to figure it out.
Nivera has not played the game before,
anyone
right?
on the right.
Yeah.
Legitimately anyone.
Could it literally be anyone
from any tournament?
Yeah.
Is it boy?
Well, here I'll start off. Look at the second one, rounds played. That should be a pretty good indicator of.
Oh yeah, actually that's a great point.
Yes,
it's not going to be boy.
And so there you go. That's all I can say.
Unless it was from a singular event, right? But I mean, actually, no, it's so because Boy did not play 167 rounds.
And also,
LCQ,
Boy has 0 operator kills per round.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could be a stat, though. Because the green's in that direction.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Whoever it is on the right is getting more operator kills per round, actually.
Oh, wait. No, that can't possibly be right still, because the amount of rounds played. No
Well,
way.
it's per round. It's per round.
Because I was
Doesn't
thinking of
matter
like
how
a
many rounds
sentinel
they played,
player.
The stats are
Well,
per
no, because
round.
it's but I'm saying like one of the stats here is how many rounds played, right? And I'm looking at that total to help determine, because like you could be like, what's a sentinel player that has a decent amount of operator kills? Steel has a lot of op kills, but you know, like
making a comparison. He's not making a comparison between Steel. He's not on a team.
Well, yeah, but
this could be like
you never know.
This could be Steel at Berlin, you know?
Yeah, it could be like Steel at Berlin or some shit, right? Like
No,
it
actually,
could
there's
be anything.
no way. Steel at Berlin definitely.
It's not Steel though.
Steel had to have played more than 167 rounds at Berlin.
Yeah,
they played.
Yeah, it's not
every
that.
game was
There's
in
no way.
OT and shit. All the games went down to the wire. There's no way.
It's 100% not that.
Unless.
I'm racking my brain over this.
Unless.
I mean, am I looking at the wrong region? Am I thinking of the wrong region?
Is it within EU, Balla, at least? Do we know that?
Yeah, I think that I can say that. Yeah, it's within EU.
Okay.
And
there's more hints here on the table, so you guys.
Yeah, let's reveal a hint.
Okay, let's look at these operator kills per round.
Reveal it. Okay.
Yeah, the shitty part about the op kills per round is because it's like a decimal. It's like really hard to actually tell the scale of like how impactful it is without actually seeing the numbers.
I mean, that's pretty tangible though.
Yeah.
Somebody who's opping a lot.
Yeah.
You can just tell that based off of the pad. It increases by 0.06. Like even, yeah. I mean, that's just.
I mean, it's roughly like a 30% increase in op kills.
Yeah. Dude, I'm racking my brain over this, but I'm drawing up blanks for now. Who the fuck could this be?
Shall we
ops
continue?
a lot that is a sentinel. Played not that many rounds.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be like you can see the last hit number of agents played. That'll kind of reveal a little bit more, but it does not have to be a sentinel.
Why not Yampi? Because they would have comparable rounds played.
Maybe, yeah. Would his combat score be that?
Not.
Yeah,
no,
but I don't think it's combat.
They've been playing. If this has been taken from LCQ, they're gonna have the same rounds played. It's a team that went out earlier, but I'm trying to.
Who is this? Someone from SMB?
Well, here, let's see first just per round.
Russ or something?
Is it Kellogg's?
Well, the event.
Oh, that's really high. Comparatively.
Oh my God. That is a lot of dying.
the event is hidden for a reason. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So the event. So it's not necessarily from LCQ, huh?
Yeah.
Bro, you gotta start throwing out some guesses.
God, okay. You guys really
wait
need
a
some
second.
more, like...
This is what tournament would this be? Oh God.
Well, I'm just trying to think of like a player in a similar role that's fucking. Is it in a similar role? At least?
It's Yampi from whatever tournament he played first this year.
Oh.
Right? It has to be Yampi.
Oh, you're so smart because it's their first debut.
This is Yampi at what tournament was that though? It was like Masters, not Masters 2, but like the Iceland qualifier 1 Yampi. It has to.
That's so smart. That's so smart because also it's two.
And also
both
first
the
deaths
debuts
being so high.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Let's see number of agents.
Yampi.
Let's see number of agents. Number of agents. That will determine it. It has to be Yampi.
It has to be
right?
Yampi from whatever his first tournament was during the Iceland qualifier. I'm locking in Yampi.
And logistically it makes sense, or thematically it makes sense because it's two debut.
Ball is being
matchups.
a storyteller.
Yeah, he's being a real storyteller.
Bren, what do you got?
You're allowed to do that? You're allowed to compare two different events?
Am I allowed to? I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
Oh man,
he's allowed to do whatever he wants.
I said Yampi earlier, but I was like, wait, no, because you would compare the same event, surely. But maybe it is like a story. You're going for the storylines.
I think it's.
Yeah,
I mean, Josh has done this before with tens, where he's like tens at Berlin versus like someone versus tens at Iceland. You know?
Yay online or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you secretly take Nivera's CS stats and convert them? That's why it's one agent played.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody's locking Yampi?
Yeah, I'm gonna lock in
Yampi.
I'll lock in.
Okay.
I'm convinced.
Go ahead and reveal.
It is Yampi.
From, so the event was Challengers 3 Stage 1. That was the first time Yampi played.
Oh.
And they didn't even make it past like the opens, right? They made it to like the play-ins and then lost. But
okay, yeah.
So this is both of their opening tournaments, and I thought this was pretty interesting. The drastic difference, just straight up in ACS, like 30 more, and then obviously you could see, and this is just some of the eye test stuff. Nivera with the first S per round, much lower. Fundamentally, that is very good. Obviously, they're playing different agents, but Yampy, when we started watching him, it was like he gets it, but he doesn't get it. You know, that was the narrative around him back at that time, and he's changed completely since then. But I thought it was interesting to look at the opening tournaments from both of them, because Nivera just had a phenomenal start to his career in Valorant.
Yeah, definitely. That is a cool comparison. The first deaths per round. That was the one that gave it away for me.
That's a ridiculous amount.
He was dying though. He do be dashing into the open.
That's ridiculous. That is 20% of rounds he's dying.
Oh my god. Yeah, that is wild. Yeah, that just a hell of a debut for Nivera.
All right, we got another one here.
Another
once again. Once again, Nivera.
Aces. Multi-kill match. Okay. Oh fuck. Okay. So I can only think I'm who is the player now? Because I already see the aces, and I know that's a very important thing here.
Number of aces.
And then the secondary is not multi-kills per match. It's 2 kills plus.
Yeah. Oh,
who was this? Who am I thinking of?
Is this one Steel? Okay, it isn't Josh Nissan. All right. Reveal the average damage per round. There's no way there's no way. The assists per round, number of aces, not. Oh wow, that's kind of low. Not gonna lie.
Oh, who was it? I distinctly remember because it's the aces. The aces are it's the aces that fucking.
The aces.
The aces. It's the key stat. No, it's the key because there was a player. There's this. I know it was in my mind because we've talked about them before. Specifically, we've talked about their multi-kill and the ace that they've gone in a pro match. And I'm like this. I just know who it is, but my brain has locked it off.
I remember Josh kept talking about Nitro getting a 1v5 ace. That's the only ace I can think of that I can remember.
No, I don't think it's.
But there's no way this is Nitro.
There's no way. Yeah.
I need rounds played, I think.
Unless... No, it can't be Nitro.
Well, let's look at the rounds played. I
mean, is this just... Oh, wait, never mind. Wait a second. I know who this is.
Bonka.
I don't think this is... Bonkar. I don't think this is Bonkar. I don't.
That's a lot of rounds played. Where the hell are we pulling this from?
We're pulling this from because the player on the right, I think, is Zombs.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a lot of rounds played too.
I think the player on the right might be Zombs from like, I don't know, the Berlin qualifiers.
Did Zombs get an ace then?
I mean, I think it's a team that played.
I'm sure. I might be looking too much at the fact that there's a picture of a Viper there, but that's just the picture that Hurt used.
Is it a Vova?
I'm thinking of
what's the kill? What's the kill to death ratio here? It seems like there's already a 0, though. We know that much.
Oh, I like that. I like that reveal, Kurt. Revealing the 0.
Yeah, the 0 was already there.
0 KD.
Okay. I think you guys are overthinking the context, right? Think about what the last guess the player that I did was, right?
Yeah.
And how it was kind of a relevant comparison.
Sure.
Why the fuck would I compare it?
It's Cryptics.
That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
We were mad overthinking it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I was kind of, I don't know, I kept looking at the Viper, and I'm like, Zombs plays Viper.
Why would you think at this point, after this many guess my players, you would have thought, like, guess that players, it would have been the character portrait, the agent portrait?
I don't know.
You would think the context of...
I don't know.
Well, the character portrait is nice when we do, like, when we're trying specifically to compare him against other, like, of that agent, but I just saw, none of this stuff was
That makes
and
a lot of
Nivera's played
sense.
3 agents, so
That
maybe I would
lot
have like
of
compared
sense.
Nivera's Viper versus Nat's Viper or something like that. But this was specifically to go off of the stuff they were talking about last episode, which was if Nivera can provide 0.2 KD higher than Cryptic,
That's
they will
true.
win the tournament.
That is true.
I'm pretty sure he did that and more.
Yeah.
And the number of aces was just that. I was trying to furiously look up. I don't know why I did this and didn't do this yesterday when I set this up, but I was trying to figure out where Cryptic's got his 1 ace so that we could use that as like a trivia bit, but I couldn't figure it out. Yeah.
Out of 557 rounds, I don't think any of us would have gotten it.
That is
exactly
pretty wild.
It's such a drastic difference.
I mean,
like,
it really did pop
so much better stats wise. It was one tournament, so you have to keep that in mind. But like this is absurd. This is absolutely absurd. And some of these things, like, kind of one of the reasons why I included multi-kills per match was because as an anchor, like you're thinking Zoms, for example, as an anchor, in some instances you expect them to get 2 and then go down. You expect that to kind of happen a lot. But not necessarily be up at the top of the KDA leaderboards. And then assists because he's getting a bunch of people, tagging a bunch of people before he goes down. Stuff like that or setting somebody up with a cage. Stuff like that was kind of where I was trying to go the role thing. But then ADR is just absurd.
Sense. It is. I mean, and just 0.5 more kills for every death. That is a lot. That is wild. Yeah,
that's a significant amount.
That is pretty wild.
The crazy part too is that Liquid, they're playing in LCQ, and there's a wide range of teams. For example, they played OBG at the beginning, but for the rest of their tournament, this was top teams. And you compare it to Cryptix, who has beta stats involved here. Not beta stats. Whenever the stats started was basically when that is, and that is back at Fish 123. Back when they were playing open qualifiers and VCT and stuff like that too. So it includes all of that. It would have been interesting to do like only like the top events, but that's really hard to fucking do on a time crunch. So it probably would have been more drastic, is my point.
Nice.
It's pretty crazy to think that Nivera it just comes in and just insta pounds.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. That's why I said in a previous episode, it's not going to happen. It's like, because it's, I don't care how good you are at CS. Obviously, the fundamentals carry over, but he's been set up to succeed so well by Liquid. And also, he's obviously been putting in a lot of his own effort, but he's taken to the game like a fish in water.
Yep.
But you know what I mean. I always get a little worried when I see.
I genuinely don't know what you mean.
You don't get.
And that makes sense. The water is the natural habitat of the fish.
Of a fish. There's some CS players that when they moved over and they've moved over at the beginning of Valorant's life cycle and they haven't been able to keep up. And I think moving in later in the game's life cycle when people have already gotten so far ahead when it comes to like utility usage, the understanding of the game, the flow of it, plays differently to Counter-Strike. For him to be able to jump in, I think obviously he's had some assistance from his team, but it's incredibly impressive. I mean, those stats detail, like, it's a small sample size of the one tournament, but the guy has such a good future
against other one of the CS transplants, right?
Yeah,
against Ethan, against Nitro, stuff like that, because I feel like this is probably the best start to any person's CS to Valorant transition by far.
Yeah,
by far.
Definitely. It's pretty wild. All right. We got the EMEA power rankings. We're gonna power rank the teams. We're doing the same thing we did last time. It's just there's a tournament today. We're ranking the teams on their skill today.
Okay.
What's happening?
Wait, what the fuck? Did we really have a send? No, this is old, right?
This is old. This is our old ranking. This is pre-Berlin.
This is Berlin. God knows what this is.
No, this is
pre-Berlin.
I'm pretty sure we did one post-Berlin.
Yeah, but this can't be post-Berlin because
I think
won.
Maybe we did it and I just didn't save it or something.
Oh, okay, you didn't save it.
Yeah,
that makes sense
because
Anyhow,
*1.
None of this none of what's on the screen right now matters because we're hitting the reset button and it's just as a tournament today. What are the rankings of the teams? Who's the best from 1st to 10th and
Gambit. Gambit number 1.
I'm okay with Gambit being a number 1.
I don't really know who goes into number 2 here.
Number 2.
Oh fuck, dude.
Wait,
I
is
mean,
it
so
online
I mean,
or at LAN? If it's online, Ascend, I think, still. But if it's at LAN, Team Liquid.
I think
we're gonna assume their next big meetup is gonna be at LAN at Champions, right?
True. Champions is today. You know what? Team Liquid. I'm putting Team Liquid in
you
second.
putting Liquid over Ascend?
Yep. I'm putting Team Liquid in second. My Liquid belief is at an all-time high. My Sliggy jersey is in the mail.
So I think Liquid are number 2, undisputed. But if we're coming off the back of this and we're saying, okay, there was a tournament tomorrow with all of these teams.
You think Guild would beat Ascend and Liquid?
Tomorrow with all these teams. You think Guild are not going to carry on that performance that they just showcased? No, of course they are.
I don't think they're going to beat Ascend
but that's not enough to be better than Ascend.
But they're not going to beat Ascend or Liquid, though.
I was not impressed with Ascend.
Power ranking, just so that we have a little bit of context. It was a global power ranking. Gambit was first, then EU. It was G2, and then Ascend, and then SMB. Just for order at the beginning of this, because I don't know.
Oh, but yeah, that was when we were. That was also when we were doing it based on like we were looking at results and stuff. Right now, this is just totally speculative of their skill right now.
For the record, this is probably how it should be from now on. You should probably always do power rankings based on what you think would happen if they played in a tournament right now.
Yeah, it's
just better that way.
This is how we did the last one where we had like New Turn in 10th and shit. We were just off the rails.
Yes.
We're doing the off the rails speculative power rankings.
Yes.
Every time now.
I agree. I do like the context because it gives because then we can look at how drastic the events are. So that's the reason.
I still don't see Guild beating Ascend.
Guild.
I still don't see Guild beating Ascend.
We can't Ascend. Dude, Ascend coming off. Guilds have been the most consistent European team.
Consistently,
but they don't win.
Fine,
but they don't win. But they don't win.
In LCQ,
but there was no Ascend. But there was Ascend or Gambit were both not there.
Ascend petered out of existence. They had some rough games in their groups. In Berlin, they went up against first round. What was it, 100 Thieves, I think, and they played a reasonably close game. But 100 Thieves kind of slapped them. And 100 Thieves then got slapped by Envy, which then Envy got slapped by Gambit. You can't apply too much from the transitive properties of them losing to teams and then trying to correlate success. But I did not come away from Berlin thinking, oh yeah, Ascend, I'm really high up on them. I thought they underperformed.
They were plowing everyone online in Europe before Berlin. At Berlin, I think there were definitely some land nerves in some of those matches. They still had a close game against 100 Thieves. They still finished top 8. It was top 8 because they lost the quarterfinals. 100 Thieves. And I think that hypothetically, if they were to play again today, I think that LAN experience was very valuable, and I think they're going to perform better on LAN a second time. So whether this is a tournament online or on LAN, I think they'll be better on LAN, and if it's online, I think they'll be comfortable and fine. There's no way they're losing to Guild. They would not lose to Guild.
Form is not consistent over the course. Like I can only extrapolate off of the shit that we've got recently, which is I was not high up on Ascend, and Guild looked really fucking good.
Well, Balla has to tiebreak it or just make the final decider. Because it's Wyatt and I on the side of Ascend right now.
Yeah, I'm with Ascend too, unfortunately. Bren.
Dude, justice for Bonkar, man.
Look,
justice for Bonkar.
We can't get justice for Bonkar.
It's so hard is why it's unfortunate. But in reality, Ascend has CNED. It has fucking Starkso. Dude, they are insane. Yes, they crumbled at Berlin, but not as hard as I think everybody is remembering. Because the only time I was like, holy shit, this is bad, was against Vision Strikers. After that, it was like, yeah, this is bad, but it's also not as
And Vision Strikers may have been the second best team in the tournament. We just won't know because they went up against Gambit in the first round. They went up against Scrimbit in the first round, and they went up 2-1.
You're right, Bren.
It would have been I think Vision Strikers may have been the second best team in the tournament. Okay, fair enough. I'm trying to add credit to your Ascend.
And the only reason Korea didn't get another LCQ spot is because the ping online. There's online ping in the servers. That's the only reason Full Sense made it.
Okay, I do want to. Team Liquid is just, I think, deserves second spot, but I think it'll be hard for a lot of people to grasp that based off because probably they didn't watch LCQ. But if you watch LCQ, Team Liquid is the truth. Like, they look so fucking good right now.
Yeah, but how do you not think Guild look good?
I mean, Guild
they had ups and downs. They really
okay.
They looked fine. Even within that tournament, they got plowed by Liquid at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they were in the lower bracket, and then they beat online meh G2. I mean,
and they also have had they've had consistently decent performances, but nothing to ever even close to put them in like the top 3 of Europe before this.
All I'm saying is that finals would have looked very fucking different on Ascent if their Team Liquid didn't just pull out the most unbelievably clutch shit with classic right clicks and frenzies on the retake when they were playing the double op setups. If they had took that map, which it was incredibly close between them, we're gonna have a completely different outcome. But that's not the reality we live in. I'm willing to drop this here and now, but I think you guys are hesitant to not give Guild credit because of just their gatekeeper status over time, which is reasonable. So I'm happy to drop this here, but I will not stand down until Guild is 4.
You made the
sure, yeah. Guild going 4, I will allow it. I'll allow Guild.
I don't even
4.
What are the other? Yeah, I mean, I don't even.
Oh, I mean, look at the other teams, right?
Fnatic in literally
so long
months. Like
so
since
long.
Last time we saw
his last official, bro. That's how fucking long ago.
they played like didn't they play one of those LVP tournaments and they lost to 10 Star?
Yeah, they lost to Saw. I thought
it was
they almost
10
lost to Saw, and then they won, and then they lost to 10 Star in like the semis in an LVP tournament. It was last.
Do we put? Surely we don't put like Fnatic somehow over like G2, right? Surely G2 stays
okay, but
like
guys,
5th.
How do we think FPX are going to do with their new roster? Where do you think FPX go with their new roster?
I don't know.
Let's have an honest conversation.
Also, BDS has a new roster too. I think someone else, some other players looking.
No. Kurt, I think we might have to put them in 4th and move Guild down. I'm going to be totally honest. I think we need to.
Nah, you're fucking. Yeah. That's a fucked up.
No, I'm kidding.
Can we put them above first just for the troll factor? Because just so we can take the screenshot and post it on Twitter, and then people can be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
they're in a completely separate zone. They could theoretically be first or last. We don't know.
Yep.
Do we have to put G2 in 5th? It feels odd because I was just not satisfied with what we witnessed of G2 in the LCQ.
I don't know who else I could put above.
I left so unsatisfied. They edged me.
I think that's the reason why they've fallen, right? Like before, we probably were ranking them higher than Ascend or something like that, but they've fallen so fucking far. I think 5th is accurate for that.
Yeah, I mean, we probably would have had them like in the 3 or 4 spot.
They still got 3rd place.
So,
exactly.
I think 5th is like fair-ish for where they're at.
Yeah, I guess so. And then
I mean, we haven't seen Fnatic play in fucking forever outside of 10 Star.
Fnatic have got the MMR decay. They're dropping just by the nature of it.
If Fnatic were playing in a tournament today, I kind of think they'd beat. I think they'd beat G2, and I haven't seen Fnatic in months.
They lost the last 2 times they played against G2.
But they were very close games, and I've lost.
They lost the 10 Star.
10 Star. Okay, so 10 Star are in 5th. Put 10 Star in 5th.
No, I mean, no. You're this guy's off the goop.
No. I just I don't know. Maybe I'm just underselling G2 because we've actually just been witnessing them lose rather than Fnatic, who we just haven't been witnessing at all. So it's making me want to put Fnatic above them, but I
don't see how 10 Star could even touch like that 5th, 6th out, because they also just like right after that they got 3-0'd by Giants, right?
Yeah.
So like
I
Giants.
think the 7th, 8th is 10 Star or Giants.
What about football list though?
Football list.
What about football?
I was going to say 7th. I think needs to be the football list.
I would allow football list.
Combine the regions. This is such dog shit. They need to combine the regions so I can do a power ranking for EMEA. That's the only reason.
It does get into the weeds a little bit when you get into the final 4 teams in the region when it is so closely contested. We don't have as much data.
Yeah.
When the fuck did BDS play last?
They
haven't played. BDS hasn't played for 3 months as well.
We'll probably not going to
10 Star.
Probably not going to put them in the top 10. I mean, wait. So we have G2, then okay.
Where does SMB land here?
Do we?
I feel like
nowhere. They're dead.
I don't.
The team's dead.
The team doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah, Kurt, move them off screen. There we go.
But if we're assuming the roster stayed intact, are we not doing that just because?
If there was a tournament today, they'd be playing with 2 players.
Yeah, but if there was a tournament, they might not have disbanded. They might not have disbanded if there was a tournament.
Well, I mean, is this Marvel's What If? Is this Marvel's What If? Am I having to do all the alternate universes rankings as well now too? Imagine if Poro was a zombie and like fucking like what happened?
Why is your mic so dark?
I don't know. It's just like
okay, but wait.
Crazy.
But also, Heretics are down there. So hypothetically, if Heretics never died and Nisao continued to play, where would they be on this list?
Yeah, Heretics at number 1. Question mark. I'm not. I don't want any part in these final.
I would rather put Tin Star and Giants should be in the 7, 8, 9. Football list, Tin Star Giants should be 7, 8, 9 range. Somewhere in there, right?
Yeah. I think.
Fuck yeah.
We're putting Giants. Are we putting Giants below football list?
Played a tournament recently, Giants.
And are we putting?
Yeah, they did.
Right.
They're in a tournament right now. Oh, they're playing against 10 Star tomorrow.
Oh my god.
So this matters, guys. This is our prediction. Right here.
Matter.
I mean,
What a
so
match.
Giants. I mean, I'm looking at their previous results here. Like, I mean, they have had some close matches versus like G2 and Guild in the past. You know, Giants have.
Mm-hmm.
So
they beat Guild.
And I also rate SMB really low. I'm tempted to put Giants above football list.
No, because they didn't make EMEA last chance qualifier.
Okay, but that's kind of unfair because the whole reason why they didn't make LCQ is because they only played in that last tournament with the actual roster.
Sure,
so that's like unfair in hindsight.
I'm actually kind of tempted to put them above football
list. They did better than Fnatic too.
Yeah, they did.
But
they absolutely
again,
did.
that doesn't. But if its current form today,
okay, I'll
Giants
make the argument that Giants is a team that I can kind of believe in the long run. Believe in the long run compared to some of these teams that are built off of a flimsy knife's edge that you never know when the rosters are going to be cut, like G2 type of shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the same situation, but it feels like these guys gel well together. I believe in David P and his storyline. And Meadow, Fatino, all these guys are at this point vets, and they've come together on this team kind of under the radar, right? They just make it. They make the team for stage 3. They do very fucking well in that event, and now and they beat 2 teams that are above them right here. Guild they almost beat G2. It was so close. They almost beat G2, and that was a G2 that looked better than
I know
right now.
Now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm ready to move Giants up a lot.
Well, not
all right, Kurt, relax.
G2.
Relax.
Well,
like the only thing I could see them going to 6th.
I could see them beating Footballist, Fnatic, and G2.
Yes. Well,
G2.
I could see if
G2.
they played. Yeah, if they were playing this tournament today, and they were in the bracket against G2, and what we just saw from G2 in the LCQ. I think Giants have a really good chance of winning that game.
What we saw from G2 in the LCQ, didn't we see that in the last time they played? Like, G2's recent upkeep in form was from Berlin, and before that, what we saw from LCQ was just the standard G2 before Berlin.
They just made it in.
But they still lost to G2 when G2 were looking meh back then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think 6 is the highest they'll go.
Okay,
that's
fair.
got the MMR decay. They're going into the Plat games.
MMR decay.
Yeah, they got the MMR decay.
Yeah, I think 6 is fair. I think 6 is a very fair ranking for Giants.
Does Forza just take the 10th spot? I mean, Forza is One Breath Gaming now. Yeah, Forza is One Breath Gaming. So One Breath Gaming, did they take 10th?
I love how there's just so many reformations of EMEA that like we have to just like constantly delete the teams.
No. Where's Navi?
Not on the list. I forgot to tell Kurt to add Navi because I forgot that existed. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
but,
make a.
But honestly, that's a good shout.
Tool Navi in 10th.
Yeah, can you like put some text on there that
Just
says
put a
Navi?
text. Oh, yeah, just put some Navi text. There we go.
I like
There
the
you go.
color. No, just leave it at that color too.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
really
go.
good. I think that's really good.
Whoa.
Yeah, oh, I like that because
Dude,
I'm
the
actually
new
with that.
Navi
I'm with
logo is
Navi in
sick.
10th. I like Navi in 10th here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that.
I told you I'm hands off when it comes to the final 4 slots because we're in the weeds. We're getting too deep into it.
What
yeah,
about oxygen?
fine. Don't. What? Okay, fine.
I don't love. I don't love
Oxygen is a great shout.
I don't love that team though.
Eh.
Yeah.
Actually,
I take
I say
Navi
are they a
over
great
Oxygen
shout?
in a BO3.
They kind of got smoked.
I take
don't know.
Navi over Oxygen in a BO3.
I'm happy to move
Yeah.
on. I'm happy to move on. Oh my
God.
god.
We're entering the
We
Matrix.
are literally in the
Oh,
pixels.
dude.
What if each one of those little squares was like a face or something? You know, like it was like whose face would it be if we were to go deep into those squares?
What are you
like each one was
talking about?
each one was Josh. Have you ever seen those images where it's like it's like an image
Yes.
made up of smaller images?
Yes.
Imagine if all of those images, those little
Dude,
squares
that
were
would've been
Josh's
so
face.
fucking funny. I would have
Yeah,
lost
it was all just like Josh.
That's crazy, bro. All right, are we good with this plat? Is that
Fuck
so? We're
yeah, that
good with
looks
that
good.
ranking.
I'm happy
Good.
with it.
Screenshot this.
Sure.
post it on
One.
Reddit.
So in order, it's Gambit, Liquid, Ascend, Guild, G2, Giants, Fnatic, Footballist, 10-star, Navi. Lock it in. If there were a tournament
Should be
today,
3.
those are the results. You'll
Guild
love to
should be
see.
3.
All right. We got one topic left, and the topic is Chet. That's just the title
Chet.
card. It's
The topic is
just Chet.
Wait, what?
it's Chet. All good. All good.
Yeah, that's the final topic. Chet.
Is this some drama? What is this?
No, it's just
I mean,
Chet,
it kind of is
he
drama.
joined Team Envy after not hiring Mike via having him sign a contract. They have now signed Chet as the Team Envy coach, a mastermind in game and on the timeline. Welcome
On the
to the newest
timeline.
member of Envy Val, Coach Chet. There he is. So that's the new. Thank you.
It's loaded.
Dude, it's just a really high res image. Really hard to load that.
That's actually an NFT of Chet that Envy put out. It takes a really long time to load.
I mean, anybody got anything?
A classic case of esports cronyism, isn't it? A classic case of it where Mike's actually on the team. We don't know how much value Mike was adding behind the scenes, but Envy went on a bit of a tear when he was on the team, and it was clear that he was putting a lot of work in. How much that actually correlates, I'm not sure, but I think Chet is he's friends with a lot of the players on Envy, and also Envy as an org they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Like, they're all over the place, like with the bureaucratics of the internal running of this shit. I mean, I'll happily go hard on Envy because they need to get their shit together. You can't be a tier 1 org just getting all this fucking outside investment and you're just mismanaging shit all over the bloody shop. It's embarrassing for the whole esports ecosystem. Like, it's just embarrassing. Now, listen, I wish them the best. Maybe Chet coming in will be able to, I don't know, maybe they'll fucking dominate and I'll be proven wrong, but it seems like classic esports cronyism to me. I don't know if it'll make a difference.
It's impossible to look at this and not think like, wow, they fucked Mike, and also they're signing their friends, or like, it's impossible not to think that. And because of that, because of all that happened with Mike's, the optics of this announcement really suck. And yeah, who knows? I have no clue what the internals of the team is. Maybe they probably like Chet better as a coach. Probably, maybe. That's fine. I'm not saying anything about that. The only shit is that they strung Mike along.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, by the way,
optics look horrible.
Yeah, it looks like they literally knew they were going to sign Chet, but his contract wasn't going to run out with TSM until after Berlin, so they didn't sign Mike because they knew that they were going to sign Chet. Like, that is literally what it looks like. And unfortunately, like, I can't look over it because of that. And now in my head, I'm thinking these really, really dumb ideas, like fucking, like, for some reason I'm trying to downplay Chet because of the optics. And
well, they might see success. I mean, I don't know what impact Chet's going to have on on the team. It
I mean,
could be
this
very
is,
good.
Yeah, this is the problem.
I can't comment on his impact as a coach, but what I can comment on is how the MV org sucks, and Mike got strung along, and the optics of signing him, it looks horrible. It looks unprofessional, and I thought we would be on this. This is, I mean, I'm getting into the old drama, but just talking on the basis of Chet. I mean, yeah. I mean, who knows? It's hard to tell one's individual impact. He runs the Scrim Discord, right?
I don't know.
Who?
Does he? Or am I thinking of somebody different?
Chet or Mike?
Yeah.
Chet?
I don't know.
No clue.
I don't know.
Scrim Discord, so.
Is he the puppet master? Is he pulling the strings in the scene?
I don't think
know.
so. I think he's just friends with FNS.
Yeah,
so
I know.
they got him, which makes it's fine to want to work with your friends, but also one of the issues with these just coaching discussions. Nobody knows what the fuck these people are doing. You don't know what any of these guys are actually doing. The only thing you have to look at are the results of the teams when these coaches are on the teams, right? So when you also consider that with the optics, it just looks nuts. I mean, that's just and
it does.
And also they have to accept that that's going to be the reality because that's all people have to look at. So when people are speculating about shit, man, people are going to do that because no one knows what's going on behind the scenes. So people are going to speculate when the only info that people have is what happened while they were on the teams. He was with NRG and they didn't really do anything. Then he went to TSM. All right, TSM had their best showing towards the end of the year when they, had the run in the Berlin qualifier. They almost made LCQ, fell a little bit short against Rise. And Chet was with TSM then. That's when they got Leviathan and Bang, and I like those roster moves. And at the same time, Envy had Mike. Don't even really know. I mean, I don't know the specifics of what Mike was doing for Envy.
Yeah.
But we know from just looking at it from the outside, when he was with Envy, they signed Ye. Excuse me. They signed Ye, and they made it to Berlin and got second place when Mike was with them. And then this happens and they get Chet. Like, sorry, the optics look nuts. That's just the reality. Yeah. So people are going to speculate and acknowledge that it looks nuts. But also, we don't know what Chet's doing, and he might just be a great coach, and Envy might just keep up the exact same form that they've had.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't be surprised if that does happen because they have a nuts roster. So it's just that is the reality of the situation. And if teams want people, if coaches and teams want to have less speculation, it can be more open about the things that they're doing and what exactly the coaches are doing for these teams too, because they don't say shit and then they just get people are just heated when people are speculating. But you could talk more openly about what like the coaches' plans are and that kind of thing without getting into ultra specifics. I
can see some subtweets coming our way for this kind of for this kind of topic. I can see some subtweets, but transparency is key.
FNS is straight up gonna tweet at just straight up.
Well,
it's not.
But it's whatever.
Transparency just goes a long way with some of those things because the problem is all the people speculating and me and whoever. I don't know what Chet does on any of these teams.
So
they could be more transparent.
It's nice. I like his Twitter. The fucking announcement's correct. Like the timeline is banging with Chet on the timeline.
I mean, like that's half of the Envy players' Twitters or Chet too. It's all Chet. It's all Chet everywhere, 24/7.
He's just the social media manager.
That's just the social media manager as well. It's Chet. Like it's just him. But I also, on top of that too, I feel like this is Bren touched on it too. More so than anything else, it'd be one thing if Mike had been like on a temporary contract, right? And they're like, well, we're not going to go forward with him anymore. And we're going to Chet. It's like, that's okay. Like, whatever. You want a new coach. Like, it's really the organizational failure that you have a person trialing for no pay for like 3 months, according to Mike, until eventually they like gave him back pay, I think, at the end after the whole ordeal or something like that. But like, that's ridiculous. You can't have a trial period where you're working a job for 3 months without pay. That's fucking crazy. That's why, and you don't even know, and like it's, and also you don't know, you're not getting. It doesn't sound like they had any real clear communication with Mike about like where his status was going as like a coach with the team, where they're feeling about him on a day-to-day basis, right? It sounds like it's a classic esport thing of like you're stuck in contract purgatory with no feedback, and also at the same time you're not getting paid. So like that's the ridiculous part. More so than anything else, like if that it's like you cannot be working a job for 3 months, not getting paid, and not getting feedback. Like that, that's fucking nuts. That's fucking crazy. The industry should be way beyond that. Like that is an organizational failure at all levels. at literally all levels. Chet being signed over mics is like, oh, you could argue like whatever, like that's they're getting their friend.
Yeah, that's
not
fine.
even really the main issue. That's not even the main issue. It's literally just
that could
the
be a good thing when you're
Mike
trying to get a coach
If they
too, someone you
handled
get
it
along with
correctly,
and know. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's all fine. But yeah, it's just more communication would be ideal if they want some of these things to be cleared up, you know?
Yeah, because otherwise we're just going to speculate on the results, and so far the track record is not good. So
if they did it correctly, we wouldn't even we would be like, yeah, cool, Chet's joining the team. He's like, we don't know much about it. He's friends. Cool, that's nice. This should be good. Now we're talking bullshit, but I actually do get it, Wyatt, on the other side. I get why the subtweets happen, and I get why, because to be honest, you look at our side too, and everybody's like, oh, they're friends with Mike. Oh. Like the optics look bad in that case too. But you just have to look at both sides in the whole situation anyways.
Look at the results. Look at the results.
Yeah, the results is difficult to say, like we've said multiple times. The bullshit is the unfairness of the entire situation. That is what we're trying to call out. We're not like, oh, Mike should be on the team because he has better results. You guys won with him. Like, that's not at all what we're trying to say. Even though it might feel like that, that's just not the case. That is not like. Again,
with I mean, it's just the endless thing with when you're talking about the people being coaches. You really don't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know.
What would we like? How do you want that to be different? Do you want them to be doing more interviews? Like, because that's how we judge them in the sports world, is they're constantly doing interviews, be it during the game, after the game, press conferences, all that stuff. But also that is boring in our space.
Yeah, interviews with the players and talking about the impact a coach has is a big one, or even talking in private, because that's how I found a lot of my information out on which coaches were dog shit when I was in the Overwatch League, and next year's up in the air.
So some of it's on us,
with
right?
that one.
Like some of it's on us.
Some of it is on us, but also it's
how Chet's impact is on TSM and stuff like that.
I mean,
players are not reliable sources of information sometimes when it comes to coaching too, because there are players that love a coach, other players that hate a coach, and a large portion of coaching in esports comes down to like, does this for a lot of players is really because of the fact that like, is this coach cool with you? Like, do you feel like they're cool with them? Like, if you're being a big baby, do they like hold you accountable? Do they not? Like, there's a lot of maturity issues around coaching and what coaches players like, because some players will actively dislike a coach because that coach will be like, I'm not put up with your bullshit, right? Some players will dislike a coach because like they're actually like they'll like a coach because they're an actually good coach. Some will like them because they're just friends with them. Like, sometimes players aren't even like necessarily a completely reliable source of information about coaching either. It's like a very hard to discern topic at times unless you get like overwhelming consensus in one way or another. If everyone hates someone and if everyone loves someone, generally those are right. But what's in the middle, it's a lot harder to determine.
I mean, also, well, I think that what you're saying though, Ball, about the interview thing, I think that's a good point though too, because the one thing that I know that one of the times I heard Chet talking about what he was doing on TSM, he did one of the interviews while they were. He did one of the interviews with like NSG, whoever, after one of the matches when they were on the Berlin qualifier run. And he was talking about the like bringing in Bang and bringing in Leviathan, and he was talking about specifically he was addressing some of the communication issues that TSM had that he recognized that he was helping them fix. So then I know, oh, okay, Chet is helping them with X, Y, and Z. You know, I think that is very useful because I now as the consumer of this esports product and watching these teams, I now know what Chet is doing with TSM. He is helping them with communication. Like he outlined where they were having communication failures in this interview and what he was doing to fix them. Like that is very useful. And that's the type of information that needs to be I don't know, just dispensed more so the wider community can have an idea as to what coaches are doing when these coach discussions are coming up, rather than it being so speculative, you know? I agree with that Balla point. But all right, I mean, if that's gonna wrap up that talk, hey, that's it. That's the last topic, except for Wyatt's weekly award, which is right now.
Very good.
Hey, bro, pass the sticks. It's Wyatt's weekly award.
Always a nice intro.
Yep. And there it is. The award. It's right there. and I'm giving the award. What was that? Was that funny, Kurt? There it is. This week, I'm giving the award. I just have to give it to Nivera. I just simply have to give it to Nivera. He came in, he got an ace on the first round. He popped the fuck off. He played a bunch of different agents. He was good on all the agents he was playing. He was good on Sova, which was very helpful in Liquid's case. They needed a Sova player. I wanted him to give me the 0.2 more kills per round, and he did more than that. Damn it, he came in and he was popping off. That was genuinely the most. That has to be, I think, the best at this stage in the game from what we've seen this year. Transition from a pro in another game to Valorant, and upon their first matches recorded being that good was pretty astounding, and deserves a lot of praise. That man is very good, very, very good, taking Liquid to the next level. Honestly, I really think that we're going to see just an elevated Liquid from here on out. I really think that they were just on the edge of being in that tier 1 category, or really top in EU contesting for titles with consistency. I think that they were right on the edge of it, and I think that Nivera is going to more than push them over that line. I think Liquid are going to be they're going to be up a level in that space in the Valorant scene. And it's very cool. I mean, they've been working at it for a super long time, with Sliggy and all them. So, congrats to them, and a crazy showing from Nivera.
I thought you were gonna give it to EU LCQ for running their events.
No, they did it online and all. That's easy. Yeah. Online event, that's nothing. That's nothing. Nice. All right. Well, anybody have any pressing final thoughts about anything generally? Or are we sending this thing home?
We lost 8 cornbreads at LCQ.
Oh, no.
We did.
We lost 8 cornbreads at LCQ, and I demand compensation for those 8.
We made it 50 members in the Lux.
Connor and I went. We were getting cornbreads. Well, we were supposed to get cakes for a bit. And myself, Connor,
they cost like $40
a
cake for some reason.
Yeah, we went to go get them, and both Connor and I forgot our wallets, so Mimi, who isn't on Plat chat, had to pay for our cornbread props, and
which we reimbursed. We reimbursed.
Mimi got reimbursed. But it was just funny because Connor and I are just fucking dumb, and then
also
we didn't have to use cornbread anyway because it got left at the studio, and then we had to throw it out because it was old cornbread, and the event didn't happen.
Day 2, as we're getting kicked out of the venue because they're just trying to sort shit out, and Josh is just behind there, just decorating the cornbread cakes. I don't know. That was why he was behind. He was just decorating the cornbread cakes, and then little did we know that would be the last time we saw them. Nobody got to see the artwork of Josh with his icing skills. But
the funny part is he didn't he was the last person to find out. He was on an adventure to find basketballs.
We were like, let's play some basketball, and his phone just died because he just doesn't charge his phone. The man is so fucking carefree, it's unbelievable. But
there he is. Here he comes.
That tweet popped off from Kurt. I didn't realize.
I mean, it's an amazing image. It really is. It's like a Marvel poster stance.
Comedy, Sorry, I cut off your Marvel poster stance.
Go on.
It's over. Good. I was gonna say this is peak Kurt comedy. This is literally you can hear Kurt's voice coming in your ear. It's here he comes.
This is so good. Maybe 5 minutes after he delayed us from getting our Uber because he wanted to put icing on one of the cornbread. Just one. One. And then
right before this too, Kurt, he tripped on the wire of that assembled mess right before that.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Classic stuff. Classic stuff.
And he's on his way back.
When's he coming back? Is he stuck somewhere?
No, he's spending a few more days in Cali, I think, and then he's gonna make his long, arduous journey.
Yeah, then he's hanging out with Snoop Dogg to get so he can make the road trip back.
Yeah, to go to Texas again. But hopefully, I know people are asking about news for the co-stream for NA LCQ.
I mean, we're doing it.
Yeah, we will be doing it. I don't know what form it's going to take. It might be me and Wyatt just sleeping on a couch with blankets. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
It's possible.
Yeah,
we'll
it
see.
depends. It's very unlikely that I can. I've already guys. I'm just. It's what happens when you go corpo. It's tough to get all the time off work. You need to do streams all the time.
There's going to be a stream. We'll to what ends the stream will be like highly produced, or you know, how many people are going to be there, all that. It's, you know, it might not be a massive production given obviously the circumstance, but there is going to be a co-stream. So do not worry about that. We will be live.
Before we sign off, I will say Josh or Sideshow will be available, but he's been working like every day for like 2.5 months, maybe more. So it will be completely understandable if he doesn't want to do any of it. So if you're wondering why he's away, well, he needs a break. People need to reset. So, yeah.
Where's the Plat Chat podcast video? You guys were just in LCQ and you haven't posted the video the day that you were traveling. Where was it? Where is our video?
Well, here it is. This is the video right here. And remember to click that like and subscribe button and leave a comment if you have let me know if you have a keyboard. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode.
Okay, end it on that.
I think that was a good call to action. Connor, they call that a call to action in the industry.
Yeah, it was good. We lost that for a long time. Good thing we brought it back.
Yep, only with my hosting. And I didn't say the episode number. Thank you for watching episode 72 of Plat Chat Valorant.
It's so wrong.
Thank you for watching episode 24 of Plat Chat Valorant, and we'll see you next week.